evening, everyone. This is our May 6th Planning Board meeting. It's 6:30 in the evening. A full agenda before us this evening. We're waiting for the last members of our Planning Board to show up so we can get started. Is Jerry's last meeting, is he coming, Maren?
I believe he will be here shortly.
Well, we could start with board business if you want.
Mhm.
Do we have any board member updates since our last meeting 2 weeks ago? Anna, you have anything?
So the Master Plan Implementation Committee will be meeting next Wednesday, the 15th.
Okay, Jeff?
Nope.
Well, Lisa's gone, so she has nothing to offer.
I have no updates.
Okay. Is there anybody from the public want to talk to us right now? Anybody?
No, hang on, Jerry's here. Okay,
Are we having cake and ice cream for Jerry?
Yeah.
absolutely.
Or beer and cigars? Good evening, Jerry. Welcome to your last meeting. Thank you.
Evening.
All right, do you have any updates, any input? One last time? Nope. No, you've been just kind of coasting to the end?
Yeah.
Sure. Any public input, Maren? Anybody have their hand raised?
There is one attendee with hand raised, Kimberly Mayo. Just a moment. Okay, go ahead.
Ms. Mayo, could you give us your name and your address, please?
I sure can. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Can't hear you.
Hello? I'm here.
Can you hear me?
Hear you now.
All righty. Is this the right time to talk on Littleton Station Village, or was that at a
No,
later time?
this is just general board business. Littleton Station's not on till 7:15.
Oh, my apologies. Why don't I go back off air and I'll come back on at 7:15? My apologies.
7:30, excuse me. I was
All right.
7:30. Okay, thank
Let me finish my supper. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you.
you. All right. About minutes from our past meetings, April 8th and April 22nd. Does anyone have a problem with them?
The minutes that were posted were the April 8 minutes.
Why do you put them both on there, Maren? Make me look bad.
Just in case we get done with them in time to get them posted.
All right, so April 8th, anyone have an issue with the minutes from April 8th meeting? Having seen no one in an affirmative, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Second, all those in favor? Anna?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Elisa?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay. Town planner input. That's you, Maren.
Yeah, it is. So what would you think if I did a town planner input section on planning board meetings? Does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
Sure, I think that would
Okay, I will try to start doing that.
Oh, great. Is it like Maren's Corner? Is that what this is going to be? You know, a little.
Yep, 2 minutes max. Does that work?
It's max. Okay. The Reader's Digest version.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we have chapter 61A, notice of intent to sell for one of the Sanderson lots.
Yeah,
Refresh
correct.
my memory, Maren. This is the field right after the barn. Is that what we're talking about?
No, this is a single lot on Sanderson Road. It was next, it's immediately adjacent to the Zimmerman home, and I think there's another new home on the other side of it.
So it wasn't 61A?
Well, because it was not taken out of 61A at the same time the rest of the subdivision was taken out, the
Okay.
Edward Drive Circle, that portion of it.
Okay.
And Sanderson family, the property owners, would like to sell that lot.
So it really goes to the select board more than us, right? It's
Yeah, the notice always comes to the planning board as well. And if the planning board has any input to provide to the select board, then now's the opportunity to do that. I understand that the sales price for the lot was set at $200,000. And if the process goes through, the back taxes that get paid to the town would be approximately $30,000.
Okay. Does the board have any issues or concerns with it? There were a couple of, when we broke off, did the Sanderson open space, the Sandersons retained some of the land almost contiguous to where the Sanderson farm was, and this must be a little further down for their own personal use. So now they've decided that they want to sell it. And, they were very gracious in the open space plan that we did, and worked out great for the town. And well, I guess they decided they want to sell one of the lots. Does the board have any issues or concerns with it? Anna, do you have?
No, I mean, in terms of the process, it sounds like there is some kind of a time of right of first refusal by the town. Could you speak to that just a little bit, Maren, so we can understand?
Yeah, but because it was in 61A agricultural and they paid a reduced portion of the taxes on it, the town has first right of refusal to it. And that's what they're exercising now. And as Maren said, now that they have to pay I don't know how far they have to go back. They have to go back away. So now they have to pay the back taxes that they were not paying in lieu of selling the lot to a developer. So
Okay.
It must be part of that field.
it must be right after the field.
Split off. Yeah.
Let's see, I can share that. Share. As I highlighted over here, there's another single family home just on the other side of it, existing home there.
Yeah.
And then the open field is farther over to the right.
So
On
it's
this plan.
closer to the development then on, okay. So it's
Correct.
different.
Okay.
Cool.
Jeff, you have any concerns with this?
No, not at all. And I mean, I'm assuming that the town isn't interested in buying it, so
Probably not one single.
Why not? Yeah.
it is what it is.
Okay. So if you want to pass the information along to the select board that, we have no problem with them getting it out of 61A and the Sandersons having the opportunity to sell the lot.
Okay, I'm happy to do that. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So that's 6:30 brings us up to 6:38. Anything else? Board have anything else?
I have a question for you regarding summer schedule, if you don't mind.
Jerry, what do you want to do for the summer?
I will be playing golf.
Nice. At six,
Late on Thursday evenings.
what'd you say, Maren?
I said Jerry will be playing golf late on Thursday evenings.
Oh yeah, all the way to like 9:30.
Yeah. Do we want to, first of all, do we want to keep it at Thursdays? It's historically been our days. Anyone have an issue with keeping it at Thursday?
I don't.
Jeff, do you have a problem with Thursday?
No, my overall question is, do we have to have meetings in the summer?
Maybe one.
Oh,
That's funny.
Hopefully we can reduce it to one a month, not like we've been doing lately, and try to lighten the load and squish everything together and stay a little later and just do one a month.
Yep, that's the goal.
Okay. Anna, is that all right?
I'm gonna have a bet on that you can't hold to that.
I'd love to hold to that. We always have. Somewhere one a month, especially if we're doing Zoom.
I hold to that last summer.
We can all do it. We could do it from remote locations. Delisa can be in Colorado and still pipe in.
yep. Hey, going there again this weekend.
Must be nice. Do you have a private jet? Oh, you shouldn't answer in public. Anyway, Anna, do you have
It's still cheap to fly to Colorado.
trying to do one a month for the summer months?
Mhm.
One a month on Thursday nights is fine.
Okay, great. And
Okay, so we have Thursday, June 3, and then July 1 is the first Thursday in July. Just double checking that's good for everybody.
do you
And
want to do
then
the 4th of July week, or do you want to push it back till after the 4th of July? Or do you
so
want
it'd be either 1 or 8.
I'm not sure I'm going to be here on the 8th. But I can get back to you on that.
I'm fine with first.
I guess I could do it
It would
remotely.
be the third. Oh,
Ooh, no?
No, it'd be the first.
No, June 3rd, July 1st.
In June.
We see, I can do this. July 1st is a Thursday, July 2nd is a Friday, July 3rd is a Saturday. 4th of July would be a Sunday. So it'd be before the long weekend. Everybody all right with that? Great way to kick off the long weekend. Sure, Maren.
First, okay, and then I'm gonna throw a curveball at you. I'll be gone the first 2 weeks of August, so I'm happy to schedule a meeting on August 5th while I'm away, or we could move it earlier to July 29.
When are you actually leaving? What day?
Friday the 30th.
Well, we could probably do, well,
You could do 29th, and then we could have an August without a meeting.
yeah, maybe. Let's see how busy we are, you know?
Okay,
Yeah, let's do
Not
the
answer,
29th.
just not answer the phone for July, okay?
okay, got it.
Put a not home. Out of bit. All right, we'll have to
I'll let you
play.
know how it works out.
How do you get 2 weeks off, Mari? You know, I mean, we don't, you know, we're not, we have to come every other week, it seems like.
Okay, so we're gonna do the 29th then, instead of an August meeting.
We're not sure yet. We're gonna hopefully not do anything in August. Jeff would like to do no meetings in August.
But
You guys don't need me right now, right?
are we gonna pencil something in for the 29th?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, Jerry's already gone. What's he, having cake and ice cream already?
No, I'm just gonna grab a bite to eat. You don't need me right now, right?
We won't need you till 6:50.
Okay, give me 5 minutes.
All right, and then September would be the 2nd, right?
Yes,
Okay.
And what are the June meetings?
June 3. And then town meeting is June 12th, that's Saturday.
Gonna be outdoors, I assume.
Correct.
Okay. Cool. We need to probably talk about presentations for the town meeting, but we can do that after this. Who wants to present what, who wants to do what, who wants, you know? Because we have, what, 3 articles, Maren, that we're sponsoring?
Correct.
Maybe 4.
Well, 4, yeah.
Yeah, 4, so.
One of which will likely go under the consent agenda.
Oh,
That's the easy one.
anyway. Okay. So it's just about 6:45. Not that I'm in any big hurry because we can't do anything until 6:50 anyway, but we do have a letter from David Gianetta asking to withdraw without prejudice his marijuana application for 551 Great Road. Is that what the address? It's been so long. I forget the number.
Correct.
All right.
531 King Street.
531 Kingston, I knew, okay. So he's moving forward, obviously, with the site that was approved off of the one down off of Great Road, be the industrial park down there, and doesn't feel the need, I'm assuming, for the location at King Street. The board have any problems with allowing them withdraw without prejudice the application?
Nope. No concern.
Lisa?
Nope,
Oh, you can't, you really,
not to answer, so you're right.
yeah, all right. So we need a vote for that, don't we, Maren?
Yes.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve the withdrawal of CCC for 531 King Street.
Withdrawal without prejudice.
Withdrawal without prejudice. The application for 531 King Street. I'm gonna second that.
I'll second.
And all those in favor? Hannah?
Yeah.
Jeff?
Wait, can I vote on this?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. We got you in under the rules of,
Yeah,
Rule of necessity.
rule of necessity. Okay.
Jerry, stop eating. Can you say yes?
He's gone.
I need 4, or can 3 do it?
The 3 can do it.
I'm a yes. Okay, great. So that's gone.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else? Uh-oh,
4 more minutes. Let's see.
cigar went out. Uh-oh. Talking too much. Nope, we got it. It's actually a beautiful night out. You guys should be outside, you know.
Yeah, we should be. You're
Being
right.
cooped up. Why don't we we'll all come up here and do it here remotely. Is everyone had their shots? Jeff, have you had your shots?
I've been vaccinated for a while.
All right. Anna, you're done, right? Yep. Delise, have you had your shots? No, Delise is out in La La Land.
No, I'm not.
Oh.
Have you had both your shots or your shots for?
Yeah.
You can do it up here, Maren. Outdoors.
Has there been any discussions yet among the town
Are
administration?
we opening seriously?
Not given recent incidents in town hall, so no.
Okay.
Oh, I do have an update. I forgot. Next Wednesday, Maren, myself, as whoever from the select board is meeting with Northbridge to discuss, what we would like to see on a couple of properties that they're interested in Littleton. They're going to come before us at, what time is it, Maren? 12 o'clock on Wednesday?
At noon, yeah.
So Northbridge is the Amazon developer, right?
Amazon developers, yeah. They're looking at another parcel. Well, they're looking at a couple of places, actually, so. They just want to come in with the town and talk and see what the town's interested in and not interested in. So they're willing to come out and talk to whoever wants to listen. So that's next Wednesday at noontime. If you wouldn't, room 103, if anyone's around and want to sit in on it.
Well, we gotta count the number of people there, so.
Oh, that's right. What are we up to? How many can we have? 12?
We can do, I think we can do the number, 2 planning board members, 2 select board members, and the staff that's been invited, and 2
Okay.
representatives from Northbridge.
I will be there, so if someone wants to be there as well, just let me know. I figured. How did I know that? That's fine. I'm just telling you. So, okay, that's fine. So 12 o'clock on Wednesday.
Right. Yeah, I was very much appreciative of the amount of communication that my office had with Northbridge and their engineers and traffic engineers and everybody throughout the process. So they certainly made it easier on staff to get through that big permitting process.
I think that's even coming here. I think they enjoyed working with the town of Littleton in there. Now they know I know IBM is available. I think they want to talk about potential redevelopment of IBM, which I think would be definitely a plus for the town. So we'll see. Can't you picture it, Jeff? Another big Amazon right in the center of town?
And if that's what they're thinking of.
No, I'm only kidding. No, they're not thinking that.
But in terms of the IBM, I go by there. I see some cars. Are they still occupying it, or are they out completely? Or
It's the way I heard it is they are not renewing their lease, and their lease is good for another year and a half.
okay,
But they
Sounds
don't-
I'm sure the downside, like everybody else, is probably not too many people left in the building. So anyway, so you're going to at least talk and see what they're are. At least someone's interested. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
All right. So we have a 6:50 A&R for Grimes Lane. Jerry, are you back?
Yeah. I'm just eating.
All right. Anyway,
So I went ahead and put the application plan up on the screen.
I don't know. Is Dave Guthrie or one of associates on this meeting, or is it just us?
Okay, just a second. So this is the point where I can't see the other participants. There we go. Hang on. Let's try this again.
Well, I can start. How's
Yeah.
that? While you look, because we're so tight on time. Anyway, so this is an old A&R. This was done, I believe, in the 50s. These are the 7 lots that are on the other side of Grimes, right between the railroad tracks and Grimes Lane.
Mhm.
And when Mr. Guthrie purchased Durkee Farm, this came with it, and this was not part of the original subdivision. And he would like to now build these 7 lots. And what he wants to do is, if you notice, there's a crooked line in every lot. For some reason, when it was done in the 50s, the lot lines were at an angle. So he wants to straighten out the lot lines, and he had a discussion with myself. Anna was on the call. Ed Mullen was on, building commissioner Ed Mullen, and Guthrie. We talked about it because the thought was, because of our new inclusionary bylaw, that this would trigger a donation of 1 lot to the town for affordable housing. But these lots were already existing. This is just a correction of the lot lines. And so he wants to move forward with changing the lot lines. And is he there? Is Mr. Guthrie there, Maren, or no?
I don't see Dave or a representative from Dave Guthrie's office. If somebody from Dave's office is there, please you raise your hand. Use the raise your hand function.
He's going to let me do this on my own.
I mean, technically speaking, Mark, if you.
All right. So anyway, moving back on with it. So the thought was that even though this doesn't technically meet the standards because they are existing A&R lots, but he is fixing them in. You'll notice, as I pointed out, Lot 3 gets the most benefit from changing the lot lines. It was suggested maybe we could come to some sort of middle ground on how to move forward. And I think we all kind of basically agreed that it doesn't trip the inclusionary because they were done in the 50s. Mr. Guthrie was nice enough to want to facilitate this process. Suggested in lieu of
Email.
what?
Maren, we can see an email. Somebody's email is showing on the screen. There we go.
Multitasking.
Anyway, so it was Mr. Guthrie made the suggestion. The new one, that he would donate $50,000 towards the renovation of the farmhouse that is being donated to the town right across the way. And we all discussed it and thought that was somewhat, but now that he's not here to defend himself, is $50,000 enough for 7 lots?
I thought he was gonna wait for the 40R and do affordable housing here. I know it wasn't part of our decision, but I know we talked about Durkee, like he wanted to put some type of higher density.
I think he originally did want to, but given the time frame involved and everything else, I think he's just decided to
He's just gonna go with regular 40.
smaller houses. He had talked about something about not quite duplexes, but small little houses. And if the people that buy them want an in-law component to them, he wouldn't be opposed to that. But I guess he's probably decided he just wants to finish out Durkee and be done with it. So,
Okay.
So there's a $50,000 offer on the table.
What's the cost to do the rehab on the house across the street?
We haven't even got that far yet. The town hasn't taken it over, but at least $50,000 I'm sure would help towards the rehab of the house. I don't think it's enough, but I'm sure it would probably help.
Roof it and it would side it, but that's as far as I would go.
I told him I like the even numbers. There's 7 lots. I went to Littleton High School and my gazintas are maybe 10,000 a lot. That would be 70, but it's entirely up to the board. His generous offer was 50. And what did this board think?
So if this was going to be an affordable, what would the calculation be, Maren? How much would that amount be for fee in lieu of?
Yeah, if it were 7 new lots, one home would have to be affordable, or the fee in lieu would be about 180,000.
Okay.
I'm also want to bring up, I was most interested in Mr. Peak's letter about the traffic and the condition of Grimes Road. How can we, I mean, I know that these are pre-existing A&R lots, but anyway, I was really, I'm sorry about the feedback. Anyway.
So I have the same question as Jeff just raised. So I don't know if you can zoom in pretty well on this map. On the road itself, it says Grimes Lane, variable width dash private. So I guess I thought Grimes Lane was a public road, so I don't know why it says private road. So I think part of what I experienced actually driving that length of the road the other night from Fraser Street over to Foster was a game of chicken with an oncoming vehicle, and the other vehicle actually wound up, getting into the edge of the road a little bit to get around each other. It is so narrow there. So I really don't see any way that we can not ask for that entire segment of the road that is not yet redone to be done.
I don't think you can.
I'm with that, and I'd like to see a sidewalk put in as well.
Right, on A&Rs, the planning board jurisdiction falls to area and frontage and the adequacy of the way to provide municipal services to the site.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it can end with the roadway, as long as you can get a fire truck up there, as long as there's water and electrical service that can be provided. That's the level of service that you get to look at for A&Rs. I wish I could tell you it was otherwise.
Well, can we get letters from the fire and emergency services about that section of Grimes Lane? I won't, I mean, I'm not assuming that it's adequate.
Mhm.
And the other thing is, I mean, in the end, the position is, well, go back to the existing A&R if you don't want to make some improvements.
Well, the only other issue was he did express an ability to try to do something at that very end, once these lots were finally laid out, to try to ease the situation, knowing full well that the state's coming in 2 years and is going to do some sort of work out there.
Well, someone attached, I don't know if it was him or Marin, the actual 75% design of where it meets.
Yeah, we have that as
And
well.
that's like, 50 or 75 feet into Grimes Lane, but the part that's the problem is the curving area. And I don't think, does that have anything to do with the state? I don't think so.
Yeah, the plan that I had posted was just the improvements that are designed to be done through the, when Foster Street is updated, they'll improve the first very short section of Grimes Lane.
I mean, what concerns is that this is planned out in the 1950s, and a lot has changed since then. And if Grimes Lane is now being used as much as it appears to be, I'm kind of with Jeff. I want to make sure it's wide enough to accommodate all the vehicles now.
Okay.
So, Mari, Mr. Chair, so one of the things that I think is important is nobody's here from the applicant, right? And so we really can't even ask them the question as to why they labeled that road private. Because if it is a private road, it's incumbent upon them then to fix it. So I think it's something we should ask.
Right, it's the Grimes Lane. We know the Grimes Lane is on the list of town roads. So I don't know why the engineer would have put private on there, but we can certainly ask him to update that.
Marvin, does the town maintain Grimes now? Or is it just an unaccepted street? Do we know that?
Off the top of my head, I don't know if DPW does.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we continue this? Unfortunately, he's got 21 days.
Correct.
And he gets it by right if we don't act on it within 21 days. But we probably need the fire department and Chris Stoddard to weigh in about the potential of adequacy at the end of Grimes Lane and the ownership of Grimes Lane.
Well, I mean, I just want to bring up, think about an Amazon delivery truck parked in front of one of these properties. They don't always pull into the driveways, and you couldn't get by.
No,
Can I make a recommendation? This was all heavily discussed when we did this development across the street. It's all in the minutes from the previous discussions. I mean, Martin, you can pull it. I mean, we covered this Grimes Road issue 6 ways to Sunday. It's all been discussed, like the mitigation at the end, the width of the road, the blind turn, the having to stop and let somebody go around you. It was all covered. And that's why we did the exits the way we did the exits out of the
I didn't
development.
see that in the, I'm sorry, Jerry. I was just gonna say, I did see that in the decision though.
It's not in the decision, but it was heavily debated because the way the original layout was. And then I think the primary in out was going to be Grimes. And that's when he defaulted and he brought it up the road. That's why they went up the road the way they did, because of Grimes Lane and how he couldn't mitigate, and because he was getting trouble from the state. So at the time, so I mean, if you're going to revisit Grimes, it's not a trivial thing to solve.
Well, the other issue back then when we approved the Durkee Farm was the state was involved, and that's why the house was involved. The house was supposed to be moved, and
Yep.
Grimes Lane was going to be repositioned. Well, that's not on the table anymore. So now we're stuck back with, we approved it with the assumption that the state was going to get involved because there's a wetlands crossing there, and now we're unsure as to what the state's going to do, but we're still left with what's left of Grimes Lane. So
He can leave those lot lines the way they are and build it without asking. He doesn't need our.
Myron, why don't we ask him for an extension, and we'll get fire department, Chris Stoddard involved to see if there's any way without a crossing, if there's a way to make Grimes Lane more presentable or more a safer passage in and out of the property. And if he doesn't want to give us the extension, then we'll probably have to have a second meeting and decide whether we want to approve the A&R or give it to him by default. Approve or deny the A&R and give it to him by default.
And Mark, I appreciate your Littleton High School math. Why don't we go with 70,000?
I agree.
Okay, I agree too.
Agree.
All right.
I have one final question. So I know we're talking about how these lots all were here beforehand. So the rule is that they had to be lots. Technically speaking, yes, they were lots. There were 8 of them, and we're reducing those 8 to 7. So does that change anything? Because if you look at the fine lines, it looks like there's 8 original lots, and they're being condensed to 7.
I think the 8th lot is still there, Anna. I don't think he's asking to do anything with the 8th lot. I looked at that when I looked at the town maps when we were talking to Mr. Guthrie, and the 8th lot was just still off to the left, right-hand side there, and I don't believe it's an issue. I
It's
could be
there.
wrong.
Yeah, it's there. So how does that change anything?
I don't know if it does or not. It's still, there's still A&R lots that were done before zoning. He's asking for a lot line change, which, as you guys know, we've been on enough. We change lot lines and A&Rs all the time.
Okay, well, I just wanted to make sure that just because I understand we're changing the lot lines, I just noticed that there were 8 of them before, now there's going to be 7, so I didn't know if that mattered.
Anyway, so Mara, do you want to do that? See if we can get Chris and fire department, get back to Mr. Guthrie. Thank him for being here to push it on, and we'll continue it. And if he doesn't want to withdraw or give us an extension.
Yep. Dave Guthrie's now here at the meeting.
Should we open the other 7 o'clock meeting and then
Well, the,
discussion?
can we push Taylor Street off? Because the person behind Taylor Street is going to continue.
Let's see. Let's think about this. We've got a continued public hearing at 7 for 30 Taylor Street. The peer review engineer has not had a chance to review the materials that came in earlier, or Friday, I think, either Friday or Monday, very recently. I think Sherry is here for that. You want to just continue it? Or
Why don't we just push it back a little bit, and why don't we finish what we have in front of us?
certainly.
And we can
Absolutely.
run a little late.
Yep. Let me find Dave again. Dave,
Unmute.
there you go.
Hey, you have me now? Hi.
Thank you. So I gave him a brief overview of what you, myself, Anna, and Maren had talked about.
Yep.
The concern is the end of the road, as I think you probably knew it would be with the adequacy of the way. We were debating whether or not there were A&R lots. I think the consensus is that they were
Yep.
in 1950. So I think we're okay with that. It's just a concern about before we change lot lines and anything, is there anything we can do with the frontage of those first couple of lots to make the roadway better, at least until the state gets involved and tries to do something to straighten out that end of the road, which is in tough shape. It's narrow, it's hard to maneuver. So
Are you suggesting where it meets, where Taylor meets, Grimes meets Foster?
yeah, the last.
I don't know. I mean, we can, so what's the goal at the very end? I mean, that project is, I think, on Mr. Stoddard's list. I don't know that, in thinking of it, there's a wetland and a crossing there. So if anything were to be done at the end of that road, it would require a filing of sorts and permission from conservation to do something. And I would imagine that they would want whatever done to be done by Mr. Stoddard as part of a state improvement under one big permit, because I think he's widening Foster a little bit, either putting a bike lane in or a sidewalk in. I'm speculating, Mark. I don't know what they'd want, but I don't think it's easy as us running down there, widening and ripping a little more asphalt in. I think it's a bigger project than that. There's a culvert there, which I assume he's probably going to upgrade when he gets in there and then swing the road over, if you will, heading towards the parking lot to not to match the realignment, which is the ideal scenario, as you know, we all worked on for a lengthy period of time, but to get it away from the train tracks as much as possible. I don't know that we're going to have the permission, I guess, to even do something differently.
What about taking some of the frontage on the lots that are on the corner, widening the road there to make it a little more than the 12 feet that it's currently?
Suggesting like where we come up almost across from the farmhouse?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're amenable. What we were trying to do was protect that wall, but I think we can definitely get a little more space in there, and maybe even, I'd have to be on site right now to say how much space we could get, but we also can creep into the farmhouse a little bit.
So maybe what I had suggested was that we meet out there, maybe yourself, Chris, and me, Maren, whoever, and see if there's a way, before we change all of this, see if there's a way we can get a little more space out there until ultimately the reconstruction of Foster Street takes place, to give it something to make it a little better. Can we do that and not vote on it today? I think we're all in agreement about the extent. Oh, by the way, because you weren't there, I got 70 grand, not 50 grand. I just want to tell you that you were tardy, and the board thought, as I did, that 7 is a better number than 5. But maybe we could work on something just to widen it a little bit until such time as the road is improved, and get Chris out there and see what he can do. So
a couple thoughts, right? I mean, what I've done in scenarios like this, guys, you know, two things, right? You come in where it's safe and you exit where it's safe, and you almost put a small common drive there across, which becomes an easement across 3 A&R lots, and then peel your driveways off of that. You know, so that you don't have 3 individual driveways coming out onto Foster in a troubling corner. That's an option that we can explore. We can explore a little widening to soften that Grimes piece in conjunction with that.
Okay.
You know, I think I have some thoughts if we can get out there, Mark, just to you know, this is obviously the first I'm hearing it, so we're happy to kind of work with the group.
So why don't we try to get out there next week at the earliest, whenever all of us can be out there, come up with it, and then can we have another meeting in a couple of weeks? Can we approve it then or work on it then?
The only issue I have is we're about to dump a set of plans in. The reality is it's probably not we're probably not submitting, you know, a year, 2 weeks may work, Mark. We're submitting our septic if we didn't already do it. And, you know, Board of Health's going to find a little bit of a contention in its review without it being on the new lot. You know, Ed certainly can't review our building permit application without it being on the former lot. I don't know what waiting offers you other than, you know, so twofold, right? And I mean this as politely as possible. You don't have to act on these and in 30 days they're good. So, you know, and you don't have to, again, you don't have to hold me hostage to get me to modify to help make that thing safer. I think I've demonstrated in the past my willingness to work with this group. Matter of fact, you know, the offer for a donation is not to offset anything on this, but merely something that we wanted to do that is hopefully beneficial to the town. So kind of feel like we've got quite a bit of an olive branch out there in good faith. So, you know, what you approving it allows me to move forward on my stuff, which helps us get to work. And it doesn't strengthen your position, I guess. I'm going to do what we need to do collectively to make this better and to help alleviate some of Anna's concerns and the board's concerns. Does that make sense?
I hear where you're coming from. Let me see how the board feels. He can, if we do nothing and we meet out there and try to mitigate the roads in 21 days, he gets it anyway. So that gives us time to work on it. And, you know, like I said, Mr. Guthrie has been more than generous with the donation. I think we all agree that they are lots. They do pre-exist. It's, he's donated the farmhouse as part of this. The 70 grand would go nicely towards helping to renovate the farmhouse. Why don't we, that'll give us time to work on it. So why don't we just leave it the way it is, not vote on it, and he'll get it in 21 days. And next week we'll get out there with Chris started and hopefully the fire department. And Anna, if you want to be out there, Maren, we go out there and see if we can come up with a way to either do something right at the corner to make the road more a safer road until such time that we're actually redoing Foster Street.
Are you content? So I was looking for a vote, quite honestly. Are you looking? Would you be content voting 3 through 7 and leaving 8, 9, or 8 and 9, which is the corner, up for future discussion? I don't know what changes, Mark, if you did vote. Please. I'm trying to avoid being pushy, but please help me understand what changes if you do vote.
I don't think anything changes. I'm willing to vote it now. I just don't know how comfortable the rest of the board is.
Well, I guess that's what so two things, right? I don't have an obligation to make this any better, but I'm willing to do it. And secondly, I don't have an obligation to grant you the 70 that you beat up from 50. Thank you. I'm sure you were a treat at Christmas when you were a kid. But nevertheless, I'm asking, I guess, you know, show me a little good faith here, guys, by getting me through this process so I can spit my permits.
Okay. Well, having heard that, Anna, what do you think? Are you willing to vote it contingent upon Mr. Guthrie and the town officials getting out there to try to do whatever we can to mitigate a road that's been in existence since the 50s?
Yeah. That sounds fine, Dave, but I did have one clarifying question. Did you know that on your engineer's plan, it actually says Grimes Lane is a private road? Is it a private road?
It's $1 million debate. In the 1960s A&R plan, Anna, it says it's a public way. I mean, I don't know. I don't know that anybody knows. I would say it's a public way based on those A&R plans from the past. He might have a Scribner's error there that needs to be updated before we record this plan. That would be my suggestion.
Yeah, so I definitely think that that's something that, Maren, if the town can also weigh in on as to, what the official status of that particular lane is, I think it's important because then it really truly does set responsibilities. I do appreciate, second, that you've been willing to work on this and the whole house donation across the street. What I would say is, I don't know if Mr. Montanari is in earnest talking about 70 or not. I don't ever want anyone to think that we are extorting anybody. So I think it is appropriate for us as a board to discuss and come up with a number and present that back if in fact it is 70.
Anna, I'm happy to hear what you have to say about it. I was just doing simple math, I'm not, I have a calculator in front of me. I couldn't divide 7 into 50 really easy on my fingers, so. Whatever.
And I can tell you how I received that. Mr. Montanari, in his own way of delivering things, said, "We greatly appreciate your willingness to offer a gift. Boy, would it be even better if it was 70,000. Please consider that, Mr. Guthrie." So that's how I heard it. And,
That's good.
I think he's right. I think 50 is an excellent gift. I think 70 is even better. So we will, upon further review, I think we'd be thrilled to move to 70,000. I think that's a better gift, and we're happy to do so.
All right.
Thank-
Those are my comments. Anybody else?
Well, I just want to, hey, Dave, how you doing? I just want to remind, thank you for the gift, but you are getting something for it. You're getting better lots. You could go with the existing A&R and you could go with the existing A&R and you wouldn't have to deal with any of this stuff. So I just want to, reiterate that there is an exchange here. And then the other thing is, I think the concern about Grimes Lane is from the new roads, not the end of it, because that's going to be taken care of when they rebuild Foster Street,
Mm-hmm.
but where it goes and meets the two new roads. And, assuming there's traffic on those, or I wasn't here for that permitting, so I don't know what the ins and outs are. But I think that's a concern. And if you could, widen those roads, if it's just a 3-foot strip of something, it would help. Because, we just approved this giant Amazon thing, and there's going to be Amazon and delivery trucks and all these roads. And if there's a truck in that road, there's no way to get around it.
So just to edify you, Mr. Yates, we between Fraser and Spruce, we widened that section when we did the subdivision. So our goal was really to bring that down past lot 9, past the farmhouse, and try and widen it.
Would be
That's our goal anyway.
that would be great.
Because we're going to bring the water line down to lot 9 into the farmhouse, and when we do that, we have historically overlaid the work that we do in that road, and we widened to 20 feet. So that I guess, I don't know if I brought that up. I know.
No, and that because when you drive on it now, it's pretty minimal.
Yeah.
And the other thing, I don't think you need to do common driveways or anything like that. The issue isn't driveways coming into it. The issue is through traffic.
The widening.
Yeah.
Okay, I think between the two parcels that we own, the A&Rs that we speak of, and currently the farmhouse, I think we can find enough space to get to 20.
That'd be great.
And that was that 20-foot, for anybody that was on the board at the time will remember, the 20-foot widening between Fraser and Balsam was a standard requested by the fire department. So I think at 20 feet, they're fairly content with what we're doing.
Yeah, that was our next point, whether they need to weigh in on this. But if you're right, that 20 feet is their typical ask.
Yeah, that's the standard they set. And I think if we stop at lot 9 or just past the farmhouse, we will be sufficiently set back from the wetland buffer at that point, so we're able to proceed with that without too much concern from conservation. And then when Mr. Stoddard sort of takes over his realignment, we can work in conjunction with him through his permit with Conscom to kind of finish that remainder if he needs our help. And I'm not sure he will, but if he does, we're there.
Okay. All right. So
That basically allays my concerns about the road.
Okay, thanks. Delisa, what about you? Any concerns?
Just everything that other people have mentioned. I mean, I'm okay with voting tonight with the contingencies.
Okay. Anna, are you good with voting tonight with the contingencies? Great.
And
I'll
Jerry,
entertain a motion to approve the A&R for the 7 lots on Grimes Lane, the lot line redefinition, the understanding that there'll be a $70,000 gift for renovations of the, given to the town, earmarked for renovations to the farmhouse that Mr. Guthrie is going to be donating at a later time. And we'll get the fire department if they want to come out and definitely start it out to see what can be done to make the road a little more safer for vehicular traffic. How's that?
Sounds good.
Anyone want to second that?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Anna?
yes,
Jerry?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Thank you for your clarification, Mr. Guthrie. And thank you for always working with the board. You've always.
Yeah, you guys are a pleasure to deal with. Sorry if I held you up earlier, but
No, that's okay. It
Yeah.
cost you 20 grand. I'm happy.
appreciate it. I'll come early next time and try to get some of it back. I thank you again. All right, guys, have a good night. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we have 7 o'clock continued public hearing, water resource modification special permit, site plan for 30 Taylor Street.
Yeah. So the revised plans have come in. Green looked at it to the extent that they now had sufficient material to review. They're scheduling that review as soon as they can get started with it. But there's no review to present at this meeting.
So can we continue that to our June 2nd? What is it? June, what did we say it was? June 2nd?
June, well, either we can continue it to the June 3rd meeting or ask the applicant to withdraw and reapply to allow new planning board member to
Oh, yeah.
get on it after elections.
Is
I think that should
anybody,
be-
is anyone there for this project?
Yep, Cheryl Gould, just a moment. Yeah, I think Sherry's here now.
Sherry? Sherry, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm here. I think I would prefer to leave it continued and hope that we'll get 4 members.
You don't want to withdraw without prejudice and reapply, or you just want to go with the 4 that will still be on in the next meeting?
I think I'd like to go with the 4. I don't think this is a very difficult decision. Once Green reviews it and he's satisfied, I don't think this board will have a problem with it.
Okay. So can we continue it until,
Yep,
what time, Maren?
yep, meeting of June 3rd. I do have a draft agenda somewhere. Hang on. A few minutes to get to
So,
it.
so Mr. Chair, I actually disagree, and I'd like to voice my disagreement because it's been 5 months and we have had nothing on this application for 5 months. And so to have it move forward, I think it should be a brand new application with a brand new board member.
Ms. Houston, I'd just like to comment to that, and I don't, I understand this has been a lengthy process, and I apologize for that. The engineer that we hired, John Field, is very actively involved as a building inspector in Wayland, and it's my understanding that the delays were engendered because the town of Wayland was struggling with the COVID vaccine startup, and the Board of Health was preoccupied. So John Field, our engineer, was called into service much more than he anticipated to be in the town of Wayland to fill in where they had shortfalls in the municipal employee department because of the COVID ramping up. So I don't think this was anybody's fault. I think that the modifications that Green and this board had asked for were minor. John just couldn't get to them. And I feel very strongly that what we've asked for is entirely within the special permit parameters. And it's just a matter of conforming the plan to satisfy the green review. And the applicant has plenty of land and is able to satisfy minor changes that green might ask for. So I don't think this is going to be a problem. Ordinarily, I would agree with you. But in this particular instance, I don't want to force them through the starting all over again process.
Okay. Does the board have any problem with continuing it till the June meeting? Yeah, of course you don't, Jerry.
I don't.
Jeff, you're okay with it, Jeff?
I'm fine.
I'm okay with it. Anna?
No, but
All right, well,
going to be outvoted, so.
well, it's not really a vote. It's up to the applicant to decide whether they want to withdraw it or whether they want to continue it. So she wants to continue, so we'll continue it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, it would be 7:00 PM on Thursday, June 3rd. And will either be room 103 or remote. My guess is still remote.
Good. I'm enjoying remote.
You guys don't have your shots yet?
I'm in short.
There.
Sure. One thing, if you get something back from Green that you do have a month, maybe we can speed up the process by making sure both parties are kind of in agreement by the time we get back in June.
I will do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, we have a 7:15 continued public hearing, 289 Great Road, form-based coating sidewalk special permit, Northern Bank and Trust. Is my understanding that Northern Bank wants to continue till June as well?
Nope, they are asking to withdraw and reapply and be scheduled at the June 3rd meeting to gain the benefit of having
New
4 board
member.
members available for that public hearing.
Since we're not going to be able to vote it tonight, so. Board have any problem with that?
Nope.
No?
I can't vote on, I mean, I can't weigh in on this.
Right, so,
So the question for the board is to accept the withdrawal without prejudice for the 289 Great Road site.
okay, so Anna, go ahead, you want to say something?
No, I was just going to say, yes.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept the withdrawal without prejudice of the Northern Bank proposal for 289 Great Road and put them on our June agenda for what time, Maren?
That one should work out for 7:15.
Okay,
I'll second the motion.
all those in favor? Anna,
Yes.
Can I order takeout, please? Pick up.
Jeff, oh, he's gone.
Orange.
Jerry,
Pepperoni pizza.
Delisa,
Yes.
Thank you.
and I'm a yes. You still have Sherry. Is Sherry?
Barry, I want anchovies on that.
I'm gonna,
Here.
yeah.
If you're bringing pizza, you know where I am.
Can't believe it.
Never mind. Okay,
There we go.
Jeff, are you a yes?
For what?
Oh yeah, that's right. You can't.
That's why I walked away, so.
Oh, was your pizza? Did your pizza arrive? Is that what it was?
Shouldn't, I'm not.
Okay, so we're 1 minute from being on time. Amazing. We have a 7:30, right? Page 2.
40 hour.
Continue public hearing.
Are you using paper?
Plnbrd vote on recommendation for town meeting. Establishment of a Littleton Station Smart Growth Overlay District. Let me see if I can get my fire. Oh, yeah, right in it. Okay, great. So we have 7:30. So just everyone want to get ready. We might be on this for a little bit. And we want to take a couple of minutes.
Yeah, can we take a 5-minute break and I'll be right back?
We'll take a couple minutes. Okay. While everyone gets ready. It's just about 7:30. I think I'll go fix my fire. shit, missed it. Are we gonna sing Jerry, so long farewell or something before the meeting's over, or what are we gonna do?
We're gonna salute.
Yeah, that's it, let him ride off into the sunset. Did we get him a cake, Myron?
No, I don't need any more cake.
She forgot your cake. How about a plaque? Did we get him a plaque? Nameplate? He can have his nameplate. How's that? Want your nameplate? It's solid brass. Solid
They
plastic.
paint my name on the town hall.
I don't know about that. You gotta buy a brick, I think.
Brick sidewalk.
Okay, is everybody back? We're still waiting. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all of us. We're all back. Can we start the meeting?
Yes.
Okay. So we have a 7:30 continued public hearing for the train station. Train station.
Yep, so for the zoning bylaw public hearing for the 40R
40R.
Smart Growth District to enable the town to establish the 40R Smart Growth Districts and to establish the Littleton Station Smart Growth Overlay District.
Okay. Okay, so I just want to, before we have some housekeeping issues we need to clear up before we get to opening up to the general public. And I just want to remind everybody, this is about an overlay. This is not a site-specific. What we had to do, and Delisa, correct me if I'm wrong, we had to give the state, the DHCD, a rough idea of what could go in there. Not what will go in there, what could go in there. And we had to be specific that we had to be as high on the project. We can't go lower. We had to be as high as we could, whether it was the density, the amount of retail space we wanted to go to. DHCD wants a upper limit of everything. So that's how we came up with, I believe, the 322, the 80 houses, and the 191 for the independent assisted living attachment to the nursing home. It's not going to be 500 houses. It's not going to be this. It can be no more than that. And I just want to remind everybody, what we're asking for is a vote at town meeting to establish this district. The developer still has to come before once this is approved, the developer still has to come before the planning board. And once DHC approves all the conditions and live within the boundaries of what DHCD has set out as a 40R, and still has to come and do everything to get this project to come to fruition. So this is not a vote to approve the project. It's a vote to approve the overlay district in that area. And I just want to, I know Maren sent it to the board. I've gotten a list of how many 40Rs are currently in the state, and there's actually 29 40Rs, at least 29. And some of the towns are, Reading has one, Amesbury, Belmont, Beverly, Bridgewater, Chicopee, Danvers, Dartmouth, Easton, all are using the 40R, same basic 40R and the reason we went with the 40R because the guidelines are there. The state has set them aside and everyone else is using them. So it's not so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. It was also monetary gains from going with the 40R state reimbursements to the town for a lot of different things. There's also a new regulation or a new input from the state that they're looking at. Maren, help me here. The commuter bylaw.
40S.
Well, yeah, that was acted upon January 29th of 2021. asking cities and towns to by right allow higher densities around train stations. They've cited 51 cities and towns in Massachusetts that they want this to be an as right, not even a 40R, an as right, and they will be compensating towns that do it. It's a directive from the DHCD. So Littleton is trying to be proactive in adding more diversity to the stock that we have. Currently, all we allow are single family. The finish line, and we'd like to finish it up tonight, get all the little details that need to be addressed once and for all, bring it to town meeting and let people at town meeting decide if this is something that they can support. So having said that, there's a few issues we need to.
Can I mention one other thing?
Sure.
That perhaps the public is not aware of, that the town of Littleton, approached the developers or the owners of the land. This was not something they just decided they wanted to do. We actually went to them and said, look, you own this land near the train station. This would really help us achieve some of Littleton's goals, also achieve some of the master plan goals. And so they have been really, really accommodating, very willing to work with the town, and especially because they are residents of Littleton and would much rather see the land turned into something that's going to be useful to the town residents and help achieve the town goals versus, let's say it's industrial, let's say another Amazon warehouse. That's certainly not going to do anything for the town or its residents. So I
know that they are very aware of the fact that they want to make as much of this available for senior housing. They want, we haven't talked numbers or percentages or anything else like that, but they're definitely committed to being a way to allow the seniors to actually get something affordable and to stay in Littleton.
But I think it's also, in speaking with them as well, and you mentioned this briefly, it's also the workforce housing. So anyways, I just wanted to mention that.
Okay, so Myron's given me a list of things we need to talk about to get resolved so that we can bring a cohesive proposal to town meeting that we don't have to amend on town meeting floor. So we need to finish a couple of housekeeping items so that everything can go to DHCD and get back for us for our June 12th town meeting. So the first thing is this, we have a question about the setback from the existing homes on Foster Street. It's set at 50. Do we want to increase it to 75 or do we want to leave it at 50? What does the board feel about that?
I feel the more the better.
Okay. Delisa, do you have a problem with 75 as opposed to 50?
Oh,
Yeah. Jerry?
Wait, 75 for what?
Feet from the property to the first building.
Right, the way that the bylaw is written is that there would be a setback required from the rear property lines of existing residential homes on Foster Street, that setback, it would be 50 feet. I think Mark's question is if the board would like to increase that to 75 feet.
So the question on that is how's that going to impact the viability of the site? I mean, why? I mean, that's now.
From the layout that I saw earlier, personally, I don't think it would have impacted viability of that site. Certain uses are allowed within the setback, just no structures. Could have, detention areas or wetland buffers, or if that's the right place for a walking trail, you could, obviously you want some landscaping there on the open areas, but just setback to structure.
Jerry, you also have to remember.
Area restriction.
Go ahead. One of the things though, Jerry, we put in the highest number that we thought was feasible in there. The actual number that is built over time, because let's face it, this is probably going to be a phased project as well.
No, I understand that.
It's going to be dependent on the land itself. I don't think a 25-foot buffer is going to impact from that standpoint. The wetlands, the septic, and everything else is going to have more of an impact than the buffer. The resident,
without understanding really what I mean, no secret. There's going to be an application behind this if it gets approved on the town floor. But without understanding what that is, I mean, to start talking about 25 or 75, I mean, you know, you could be disadvantaging that plan without even knowing what it looks like.
Well, like I said, but I
Because
think,
you've got the topography there to offset any impact to any abutters.
well, I think most of the abutters, to be perfectly honest, the abutters that were concerned about it were the abutters further up on Foster Street that were behind where the 191 proposed houses for the nursing home, and that's going to be further on down. So I don't think it's really going to impact that portion of it. If the residents feel more comfortable with 75 feet, I want them to know that we're here. Let's leave it at 70. Let's put
No
it.
skin off my back, but you're gonna have to live with the impact.
Okay.
I also, there's precedent for 75, and at 15 Great Road, there was a 75-foot setback behind the Apple Dior houses and the new development. And that neighborhood fought hard for that. And I think it's.
Okay. Anna, do you have any problem with increasing it to 75 feet?
No, I think we should increase it to 75. In fact, I'd even double it, but it doesn't sound like there's appetite for that. So
Okay.
I mean, the biggest thing is that you're going to have this development going into existing homes that have never had anything back there, and to give them a little bit more space would be helpful. Jeff said that, you know, 75 is precedent. So yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. All right. The next one is again, we had to give the state a number, no bigger than this. It can only go down. We chose 30,000 square feet of retail space out there. I think that was through Judy Barrett. They came up with a couple of different scenarios of a convenience store, a coffee shop, maybe a small little restaurant, a little bit of retail, daycare, or what did you call it, Anna? Daycare?
Early childhood education center, Mark.
That's it. That one of them. So do we feel 30 is too much? Do we want to leave it at 30? And like I said, the economics are going to be what really drives how many thousand square feet are actually going to be built out there. Do we want to?
Let's say 30,000 square feet. How big is that? Let's compare it to something that people can relate to, like the paper store. How big is that, Mark?
Let's do some.
Yeah, if you're familiar with Dick's Sporting Goods in Leominster, that's a
absolutely.
that's a 30,000 square foot
Is there
total.
Littleton? Let's use something.
It would be about half of Donovan's.
Okay,
That's a
half a lens. All right. So it's not that big.
No, I disagree. It is big.
Oh, it's big.
But-
30,000.
All right. What about, how big is Great Road Kitchen?
That's probably 3,000 or 4,000 square feet tops.
Maybe
Think about it.
10,000.
Well, wait.
It's
How
not,
big it is? Never mind. I'm thinking just about my own office. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's big.
well, the issue is there's not just retail, but what kind of retail you're attracting. Now, actually, an early childhood development center would be probably really working well there. I don't know how big those are, but they're not gigantic. Most,
It varies. Yeah, it varies in size from 3,000 to 10,000. I had a 10,000 square foot.
so say you set aside, a mental slot for a 10,000 square foot, something like that, and that could also be a gym or something like that. But then after that, the development appetite is for small spaces,
Right.
750, 1,500, and I just feel I don't know. I would regret if that whole area was built out and had such a big retail component. I mean, we're really focusing on housing.
Well, but the thing is, what we're doing, and the whole vision really was to create a village-like environment. So.
But villages don't have 30,000 square feet of retail.
Well, yeah, I'm rethinking the whole 30,000.
Well, wait, but I mean, isn't that, again, that's where it'd be nice to look at like what a pro forma design would be, because if you're spreading your retail out to make it, because you want to keep traffic inside the village. You want people to want to do whatever they want to do without having to go outside of that village. That reduces your traffic, right?
Right.
But that doesn't mean you're going to have a shopping center with 30,000 square feet of frontage, you might have a little thing over here, a little thing over there. Well, you won't know that till you see the design. So I think if you're going to preemptively restrict 30,000 square feet, I mean, I just think that's a little preemptive.
Yeah,
And the issue is it's going to be designed based on what people want to put in there and what's going to,
Right, it's going to be fun.
you know, like I said, we've all known that a coffee shop down there has always been a small little convenience store,
There could be a
dry
bed,
cleaners,
ATM, whatever.
stuff like that. So if you want to leave it at 30, you want to reduce it down to 20, you know, what's the, you know, it's just a number there that tells the state that we've addressed the fact that it's going to have a mixed use.
Right.
You know, is 30 realistic? Probably will never be built, but at least it's a placeholder for a number.
Mhm.
So the question is, what's the number? Do we want to leave it as after 2.5 years and Judy Barrett's rendition of what she thinks will go out to? Do we leave it at her number at 30,000 square feet? That's the issue.
I think 30,000 is wise.
I'm fine with that.
Hannah, what do you think?
I'm fine leaving it at 30.
Okay, Jeff?
I'm gonna go along, but I hate to see that amount of retail there.
Okay. All right, so we'll leave it at 30. I'm okay with 30. Let me see. What's the next one I need to get mine? What do you want to do with the 191 units, the low density for the nursing home? I thought all along, and when we spoke with Judy, it was after talking to the seniors. We've had many meetings with the seniors coming to the Littleton Planning Board, talking about wanting to age in place. The thought all along has been to put something next to the nursing home where it could be independent living, assisted living, different care levels that we were hoping that the nursing home would engage us in and want to work with us to put something on this. So we came with a number that we have.
I have a thought on that. I think you should do it. I think you should do it because you need access to Harwood. And you don't want to lollipop landlock this. If you can get another access out, then I would just continue.
And that was the
working
other
with that
thought.
property owner.
You'd be able to come in.
Close the door on that.
Okay, then you'd be able to come in and out of Foster Street. Yeah, I mean,
Foster Street. You've got a financial incentive now for the landowner because you're going to add a lot of value to that property. It just makes more. I mean, if I was doing the project for me, I would be pushing hard for that.
okay. That's why we haven't taken it out yet. We have to make a decision when we get to town meeting. The 191 is really for independent assisted living attached to the nursing home. It's not separate houses that are going to go up there. It's really
for the opportunity to get in and out.
second way in too. Correct.
Right.
Okay. That's 2 years. That's where we're at. And now so you want to keep it in. Delisa, what do you think?
Yes, I want to keep it in. I think it's a great location. It just makes sense.
Anna?
So what I heard you just saying is that there would be no residential homes on that parcel where Life Care Center currently resides, that there would only be senior related development such as independent living units, no, there could be single family. I mean, it could be single, like it could be cottages, it could be duplexes, but it would all be 55 plus.
And
Stages. It could be some of that. It could be some where they do have, a cafeteria. So you could hit each level, age in place.
independent, assisted, truly independent assisted living. Attached to the nursing facility, which is the third level nursing home facility.
But not attached. When you use the word attached, we don't mean physically attached.
Physically attached, but in conjunction with the nursing home.
Just
not
that
developer putting more houses out there. That's not what this intention is. This intention is to bring the owners of the nursing home on board, as Jerry pointed out, second way into the property, and to add more services to their existing nursing home. Right now, it's just a nursing home. There is no other facilities. There's no other age in place facilities that are involved in that. And this would give them the opportunity to expand to it. And the 191 is the number that Judy came up with as to the maximum of what could be in there. If you want to reduce the number, we could reduce the number, but that's the number that she came up with for a facility attached in conjunction with the nursing home.
Let's clarify. The 191 is the street address, 109 or 123 is the maximum number of housing units that could be allowed.
All right. All right.
On that, sorry.
We stand corrected. All right.
And so from the standpoint that Life Care Center currently isn't responding to anything we have to say, we really don't know that what you're talking about could even happen, right?
We don't, but we have to put it in there for part of the 40R.
Right.
Yeah, we have to go, as I stated earlier, we have to put in as much as we think that's going to be in there for the 40R to go to the DHCD one time, get approved, and then all the components of the 40R will be in place. It
So
may-
I have a question, just to make sure here. When we talk about that this particular area would be, quote, targeted for seniors in all these different types of housing, we're not saying that the other two parcels are going to be not for seniors. In other words, there can still be affordables for seniors in the other two parcels that we're talking about.
There's going to be affordables for seniors in the other two parcels. That's irrespective of what happens to this parcel here. There's going to be, as we spoke earlier, workforce housing, senior housing, first-time home buyers,
Empty nesters.
empty, all of that. That goes without saying. This is on top of that. This is that other area between the two properties that's not owned by the Longs, but is owned actually by the nursing home. They control it, they own it. We're
Ask a question about that.
entice them to give us more services for our seniors in the town of Littleton, and this is the only way we know of doing it.
How do you do that exactly? First time home buyers, seniors. I mean, you'll set off pretty much like every housing. How do you mandate that?
A lot of it's just by design.
I know, but what I heard from you guys was you're implying that it's a mandatory mix. How are you going to enforce that? I don't think there's a law that supports that.
There isn't.
See, there is. If we dedicate senior housing,
There isn't.
percentage of it has to be for senior housing. That's going to be part of the 40R process. If we're going to do workforce housing, this will be a percentage of not just apartments. We're talking standalone houses and the apartments. It has to be a mix of both. Senior housing.
No, but when you say workforce, like that's just any citizen in the United States buying a house. Like, that's fair housing law. You can't circumvent that.
It's a term.
Yeah.
You're
I
right.
know, but you guys are saying like it sounds what I'm hearing is that there's some rule here that applies to some mandatory mix. That's not true.
No, but the process would be that the owner would design a project for an imaginary buyer or tenant that would appeal in these ways. And I think that's the big point, that it's just not a big giant single family house on an acre lot. And there'll be.
Oh yeah, I get that.
Well, but that's about as far really as we can.
That's just really what you're saying is you're hoping that design principles drive that mix, but there's no like mandatory thresholding around numbers.
That would be our job, to analyze the offerings to see if it meets that goal.
Once it comes back before us as an actual project, not for town meeting. The other thing, workforce housing is a termination that the state calls it. There is money available for workforce housing.
But it's descriptive language. It's not defined under the law. I'm just saying it matters because you can't technically enforce it.
Go ahead, Anna. It's nice that you raise your hand. Not like these other barbarians.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to not interrupt. So one of the things that we had talked about at a previous meeting was the concern that folks had that the overall number then would be huge. Before we talk about a vote, if you will, on this particular item, what are the numbers right now, assuming that this were to be in? What are the numbers for each of the parcels?
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Maren, it's 322 for the high density, 80 for the medium density, And then this would be, what do we call this? The low density? What is this called? You're muted
Yes.
at any time.
Yeah, it's called the low density. The maximum number of housing units on the 191 Foster Street parcel would be 123.
How big is this Foster Street parcel, by the way?
About 16 acres, between 16 and 17 acres.
Can you just reel those numbers off one more time? How much is, what is it?
Three?
123 on the Life Care Center parcel. Maximum of 80 in the medium density. And let me find the number.
I thought it was 3 for the high density.
Yeah, I'm just gonna try to double check it again. I'll keep looking for that. Hang on. Density, single family.
So that number.
Not to exceed, yeah, I'm sorry, not to exceed 323 on the high density.
526 units.
Mhm. Right, and then the state looks at the number of 16 units that could theoretically be built on the Life Care Center parcel because it's zoned residential now. So they subtract that from the change in their view of the change in density.
So that's where the 509 or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
So right now, if the 191 Foster, as of right now, they could put that many, 123 units on without changing the zoning out there at all. Anyway,
No. That's
No, on that part of the parcel, they could put 16 units.
Yeah.
I thought what if they went to a senior residential out there? Yeah, then they could, technically. So anyway, so those are the numbers, the place numbers that we want to send to the state. How does the board feel about the high density, 191 Foster Street? What do you want to do with it?
I thought that we had some kind of mandatory, Mark Rasico, I thought there was some kind of minimum that we had to do for the 40R to get the. So if you lopped off the Life Care Center, would you, and that's a good point, that it could, the goals could be achieved through our senior housing bylaw. But if you lop that off, would it allow us to reduce the number of the high density units
Not the way it's currently laid out, no.
under the DHCD guidelines? I mean, I'm on record as saying I really doubt they're going to achieve that density. And nor would I think there may not even be demand for that kind of density. But
Really?
But okay, I just thought we had we did adjust it down because at some point we had like 700 or 800, I thought.
But
Well, yeah, that was originally the full build out of all the acreage if we went to high density and things like that. We had different build out scenarios that Judy Barrett had proposed to the board, to the committee way back when, and the most if you wanted to put all high density out there was excuse me, something like 700 units. We've come with a mix that we think is the best that we're looking for the town of Littleton. 3 different styles out there. So basically, I'm
What's
still
the
asking.
difference between, you had 3 options. One was a 700, one was this, and the next tier down, I think you dropped from like 300.
I think this is the next tier down. 700.
This is the middle tier.
Yeah, this is probably a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think Jerry makes a good point about the fact that we need to bring the Life Care Center to the table. And the only way we're going to do it is we give them zoning that makes it in their best interest to help develop that parcel and do something for the seniors out there. It's basically, it's all seniors. That's what it's geared up to be, for an attachment to the nursing home that's currently out there. Age in place, as we were told. and to get a second way into that property further down Foster Street. So I'd like to keep it in. The question is, what number? Do we leave it the way it is or come in with a smaller number to try to make it more palatable, or do we leave it where it is?
But I think you're maximizing your state benefits if you do that. You're not going to get 500 units in there. You're probably going to get something much, much smaller. After the engineering's done, they go through conscom. It's not going to come out at that density spot. You want to leave the door open to mitigate traffic onto Foster Street, right?
Right.
So that would give you the back door potentially. And at that point, it would be up to the property owners to work it out. But at least the opportunity is there. If you don't do it, I'm not even sure what's the benefit to the life care center.
Well, it gives them,
why talk? Like you're not getting anything.
right. If you don't put it on there, they're not going to talk. I agree.
Right.
So the question is, do we want to leave it in for town meeting floor, for debate on town meeting floor, and part of our 40R that we're sending to the DHCD? It boils down to.
So you're talking about leaving in the low density senior parcel of it. Okay.
Yes, we need to decide tonight because we have to vote it tonight to send it to town meeting for June 12th.
So I remember hearing at a previous meeting that perhaps lower numbers would be better to get town residents to approve this. So I'm just a little confused about that. But also, I guess I was thinking that we had heard that different parcels over time could be added, that we could start small and then add more parcels. So where does adding that particular parcel at a later time come into play?
We're not looking to add any more parcels. Now, when we originally started this, and correct me if I'm wrong, Delisa, we had looked at from the train station all the way up to the top of Taylor Street. And that was the total build out. There was thousands of units and everything else. We said, no, let's start this. The beauty of this project that we're trying to do, it solves a lot of our housing issues in one fell swoop. First time home buyers, I don't reiterate what the mix is, but it gets everybody, and it's at a small enough up, only go down. And this is the upper limit of what we think, or what our experts have told us could be built out there. And that's the number we're using, knowing full well that maybe only 200 get built out of there by the time we're all done, because topography, sewage, how much the land can support the sewage plant that needs to go out there. Maybe it's only 200. We don't know that yet. We won't know it until they actually come in with genuine plans, with drainage, with conscom in there, with septic design and everything else. But this is the higher limit that the state is asking us to give them the biggest, best case scenario for the build out of the property. So, but
keep in mind
any other properties.
It was in here at 220 units, so it's not like I don't think you're getting over 300 units.
I think we've all going through, Delisa and I are going through all the different things. We realize that we're not going to get as many as we have out here, but.
And when we're talking, it's going to take years.
Years for this.
You've got so much experience in developments. How long would a development this size typically take to build?
5 years.
Okay. Which
3 to 5 years.
In this environment, come on, those things will sell out in 5 minutes.
Oh, well.
Well, that's Littleton today. We don't know what's going to happen.
What do you mean, when we come out of COVID, the economy's going to fly.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So meanwhile, all the improvements to Foster Street are going to be going on, which is great. So it's all simultaneous. All right.
Is that scheduled?
It's on the plans.
The other thing is, and Delisa hit on it, we can't find out what we're going to get for Foster Street until we actually have a 40R in place. That's the other thing. We know that they're doing from Balsam. They're committed to doing that. There is talk between the town and state and different funding agencies, excuse me, to do the rest of Foster Street. But it's like the chicken and the egg or the cart and horse. We won't know what kind of money they're going to put in until the 40R is actually approved as a concept. Then the state will get involved and say, we're going to give you this much. This is when we're going to do it and all of that stuff. They will not commit to a project until it's a viable project.
I think we definitely, back to Anna's original question, we have to include the Life Care Center. I mean, this is the time to do it. And if we want to get them on board and start talking to us, then again, it's an overlay district.
We don't have to talk to them. We can just rezone them and then the owners would.
Well, exactly. They will encourage them, but it also will help us. If they are truly interested, it will help us help our seniors. So.
Exactly. Right. We have to give an incentive to come to the table and talk about adding more facilities out there. Maybe it's not the owners of this one. Maybe this makes it more viable for them to sell it to someone who wants to
partner with somebody.
Right, partner with somebody to put other uses out there. It is right now, we have a nursing home. That's all we have.
No argument there. It definitely ups the value of the land quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so what do we want to do with this? We need to decide tonight what we want to do with it. I'm in favor of leaving it in so that we have all the options on the table, and gives us more flexibility as the board moves forward in the next couple of years, as this gets into the permitting process and hopefully others get involved with it, to give us more flexibility for more senior housing.
I'd like to leave it in.
Right, Jerry?
Yeah. I'm good.
Deanna?
Yeah.
Jeff?
Yes.
Okay. All right, what am I left with here, Maren? Height of the buildings. So the maximum 35 feet structures within 300 feet of Foster Street, 50 feet of structure more than 300 feet away from Foster Street. This is talking about going back to the topography that's out there. There's a severe ridge there where the hope is to put the high density units, the apartment buildings, behind the ridge to drop them down. You'll see them from the highway, but you won't see much of them from Foster Street. So that's the reason for the two different levels.
But I thought it was 50 feet originally.
Yeah, 50 feet. 35 for the stuff within 300 feet of Foster Street, 50 feet for the stuff after 300 feet of Foster Street. Did I read that wrong?
I thought I just heard 35.
So the 35 feet is our standard Littleton,
Right.
That's right. Yeah.
So any house that's built behind there would have that limit.
Or in the apartment building.
I'm a little concerned about the 50 feet, not because I'm concerned 50 feet, but I think I might want to add 50 feet / 4 stories, because our heights are determined by finished grade, and that's tricky because finished grade can be altered in a way that advantages the height. So that's all. I mean, it's a complicated thing. I don't want to make it more complicated. I deal with complicated things in other towns where you have to do mean grades around the structure and the existing grade, and then you do this and you do that. But I think in general, I would like to see some kind of break on a really tall, if it's 5 stories from the top of the hill, that's pretty tall. But if it's 5 stories from the toe of the slope, doesn't bother me. So could we do 5 stories?
Right.
Or, excuse me, 50 feet or 4 stories.
Well, wait. I don't even know. Does that mitigate?
And that's how you're limited. You can do a 4-story building.
No, I know where you're going, but I'm saying you're making a good point. It's if the intent of the height is to overcome the topography, then what you're really saying is the height must be in relation to the topography.
Right.
So if you go up,
And so I don't want it, once again, I don't want it to be super.
I know it's too complicated. How would you do that?
I just say it's 4 stories,
Yeah, but what would stop if you wanted to put 4 stories up on the upper 25% of the slope? Would you?
Well, that would still be under 50 feet.
Well, no, I'm saying if you put 4 stories on the upper 25% of the slope.
No, I know, but it would still be a 4-story building is still below 50 feet.
But it is.
It's above 35. So this is talking about the parcel way in the back where the park is.
So the problem is our height definitions are based on single family homes. They define, slope roof, flat roof, all that thing. And it's just, we can go through this in detail now, or just sort of say, we don't want buildings more than 3 or 4 stories.
Well, that would be something you would deal with when it's an actual plan in front of you. This is the conceptual plan for the overlay. So if you,
So is there a way to write conceptually what I think Jeff is saying, and that is that on the hilly, flat part, we don't want buildings to be too tall, and then once they're in the valley, so to speak, they can be taller
Yeah.
because
That's right, yeah. that's
Right.
exactly- yeah.
well, that's what this is doing. This is saying the parts further out, which is where the topography is, can be 50 feet. The stuff in front of it can only be 35 feet, which is what we're all used to. But not limiting it to stories, we're limiting it to height. So
Well, the code limits it to story. I mean, it's like, it's not atypical to do so many feet or so many stories.
So let me ask you this, Jeff. So we're supposing we get way in the back there. We're at 50 feet, and the developer wants to put a parking garage under it and then have 4 stories on top of it. What does it do to 4 stories?
Presumably, the parking garage would be primarily below grade. So
Right, but that would be higher than 4 stories.
in fact,
No, if it's
I
below
would-
grade,
I would predict that the developer will have to do a parking level to get
Under.
to
Right.
get, first of all, to be desirable, but second, to get the density, on the site. They're gonna
So
have-
do you want to say 4 stories, we could go 50 feet or 4 stories, excluding a parking garage?
Yep, that's fine. Yep, I would do
I'm
that.
good with that. I'm good with that.
excluding, as long as the
Excluding-
parking garage is at or below.
Under, oh, yes, I had below grade.
Yeah.
You okay with that?
I'm okay.
All right, that solves that problem. Anna?
Mark, can you please reread what it is that we're going to be agreeing to?
So we're going to allow 50 feet, 4 stories, exclusive of parking. If they want to put parking under the building, that does not count as one of the stories of livable space. Why do we say 4 stories of livable
But I
space?
think you have to add the at grade for the parking garage.
Well, no, the parking lot garage is probably going to be below grade.
I know, but you have to say that. Otherwise, I could put up the first story as a parking.
Or you could say parking structures
Stories on top of that.
are not considered a story.
Right, parking is not considered livable space. 4 stories of livable space.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I think we
Does that
need to be as explicit as possible. Remember, everybody, what we're going to be doing is basically these these are as of right? So
Right.
we're not going to have a whole lot of maneuverability once we get something in front of us. We
I
have
mean,
to be as
I'm thinking of the new condos in Westford that are, put up behind NetScout. And are those 4 stories or 3? I think they're 4 stories.
They're actually, I have it here in front of me. It's called Princeton at Westford.
Oh, no, those are,
There's 2 separate developments.
Right.
these are the ones that are right near like that bamboo. Not bamboo.
Oh, yeah, that's an entirely different one, but the 40R for the Princeton at Westford is 4 stories. But they have big, huge peaks that put them way over 50.
Well, they didn't, no, they're flat roofs, which
Yeah. No, this
is
is,
the thing now, is to do flat roofs, but,
right,
and I would advocate that. But
flat roofs.
then 15 Great Road is 3 stories, and one of the buildings has parking under. I'm just bringing these up because at town meeting, we may have to refer to some of these projects that people visualize. And
Absolutely, they're gonna visualize what's going on, sure. All right, so do you want to leave it 4 stories of livable space and 50, no greater than 50 feet?
Yes.
Everybody okay with that?
Sounds good.
say that one more time, 4 stories of livable space.
And the building not to exceed 50 feet.
Or just say not to exceed 4 stories of livable space or 50 feet, because they could build a smaller building. I mean,
Exclusive of,
Yeah, not and/or. It would have to be an or.
an or.
Or if it's.
Oh, no. I'm just
Not
saying,
and.
because
you know what?
you're limiting stories to 4 and you're limiting the overall height to 50. How do you,
I know, but if you add an and, it's additive. If you add an or, it's one or the other.
Maren, do you know how to write this so that you can get our intent?
Maren will get it to town council. 4 stories of livable, 50 feet exclusive of a parking garage, 4 stories of livable space.
I guess,
Maximum.
50 feet has to go first, then the 4 stories is the second part of the or.
Okay, she'll get it straight out. Anything else, Maren, or is that pretty much the list?
Tony, I really want to make sure that we're all on the same page before we move on.
Okay,
Because we've had instances before when then we have to go back and try to readdress this, and it's better to take another 2 minutes, please.
okay, go ahead. What else do you want to address?
No, I don't have any problem addressing it. I want to hear what the language is going to be,
Fair.
just to make sure we're all on the same page.
Sure.
Myron, you want to take a shot at it?
Yep, the height of the buildings further in the area that's 300 feet from Foster Street or further. So we're talking about that section. The height of the buildings will be a maximum of 4 stories, a maximum of 50 feet in height, not including, oh, well, I don't,
Not including parking, any parking.
right.
Exclusive of the parking garage, underground.
Okay, so 4 stories of livable space exclusive of the of any
Parking structure.
parking structure.
Okay, so that's one within 300 feet,
After 300 feet.
After 300 feet,
after 300 feet. Okay.
Okay,
correct. And actually, I think that works quite well with our, as Jeff pointed out, the definition of how Littleton does calculate building height. And it works well with the design guidelines that indicate the same idea, that you're working with the slope of the land for, and that will, if you work with the slope of the land, that will give you the best project or best development.
Okay. Great. Thank you for going through it one more time, Lauren.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
okay, we're good with that. Do we have anything else? Any other issues of mine, or is this night neat bow?
That was the list of things I had for you. Town council reminded us to mention that the quantum of vote needed at town meeting is a majority, not a super majority,
Right.
given the legislation that passed, that you referenced, that passed in January.
Okay, so we have one more issue before we open it up to the residents who want to speak about this, and that's the affordability component. Okay, we've been going back and forth with the 20 to 25. So we need to decide. We need to decide once and for all how we're gonna address affordability for this project. So, who wants to weigh in on that one?
I did.
I think it needs to be at 25%, the way that it was recommended by.
It's not viable. You can't even get a bank loan on 25. You don't get a bank loan on 20.
We've never even seen any numbers that says that they can't do it.
It's not, it's about the financing. They don't finance at 25%. They'll finance at 20. That's what, 40B is designed that way for a reason. It's
As long
not like
as it
they
makes
come up with these numbers out of nowhere.
Yeah, well, along those lines, I brought up Princeton and Westford, which was approved in 2019, and let's see if I can read it in the dark out here. It's a 200-unit project financed in part through Massachusetts Housing, and they used tax-exempt bonds to fund the loan with MHP utilizing existing banking. So if they're going to have to use tax-exempt bonds to, and this is at 20%, Littleton, it just reiterates what Jerry had to say. It's in this environment with a lot of mixed use being downsized because of people staying at home with COVID, it's going to be hard to get funding at 20. I'd like to leave it. Seniors are at 25% anyway. If it's going to be senior designated, that's going to be at 25%. I think if we leave the regular part at 20%, I think that's the best. I think it makes it for a viable project. I just think it's going to be hard to get funding. I agree with Jerry. Hard to get funding at 25%.
I'm in agreement with 20%.
I mean, 20% would be a 40B level, but as we've went through with Hager Homestead, what does the affordability criteria mean? Is it 20% at 80% AMI, or, do we want to, in Anna, I think you would want to refine the affordability. If it is 20%, you would want to refine the affordability to a certain amount of 80%, a certain amount of 60%, so that we could get real affordability.
Yep. So here's a question, right? LSAC provided a recommendation at the end of January that said 25% less than 80% AMI. This is the first time in 4 months that this has even come up. So the whole concept, right? That's what you said, Mark. Tonight we're looking at the concept. We want the concept of 25% affordability. It's what you presented, and now all of a sudden you're changing it. Why? Because a developer comes in and tells us that they can't do it? Cry me a river. No, thank you.
It's not the developer, it's the industry out there.
I want to hear the answer why all of a sudden this is changing when you guys came in at 25%.
We got that from Judy Barrett, that was our best hope scenario. Now with the economy the way it is and banking the way it is, 20%. If you look at the 29 units that are built in Massachusetts, 40 Rs, 90% of them at 20% affordability, 90%. Danvers, 20%, Easton, 20%, Holyoke, 20%, Kingston, 20%, Lakeville, 20%, Marlboro, 20%, Natick, 20%.
I get it, 90% of them, but guess
All
what?
at
We're not them. We are not them. We have done the homework.
We have not done any homework. We've been told.
Identify how many seniors we need and the fact that we have workforce housing needs as well. So from that standpoint, I really would like to understand, other than this notion that, oh, the developer can't get the financing. Well, the developer has other options as well. The town was told 25% at 80% or less AMI. Why are we changing it now? Other than the developer is pushing this.
No, the developer is not. The reality is that you're not going to get funding. You're not going to get funding.
Where do we get that information?
I've asked around in the industry, people that I know that are in the industry, and they're all telling me the same thing. It is very hard. And we had the same issue at Hager. Hager had a problem getting their funding. We had to be creative at the end and give them units that were really affordable, but not affordable. And they were at 120, 140, and 150. These are all at 80% AMI, all of them, all 20%.
Important.
Seniors moving at 25.
I really want everybody to understand the importance of this, right? So we're talking 500 units. Let's assume that for argument's sake that can be done. So what's 20% of 500 units?
Let's do 400 because I went to Littleton and that's an easier number. We're talking 80 units at 20%, 80 units that we do not have right now that we need for seniors and first-time home buyers. That's 80% in one fell swoop. Seniors are going to be more than that because the senior part of this component has to be at 25%. So let's.
What would be even better is to get 100 units instead of 80 units.
But it may not get built. So why pass a bylaw that may not get built? Why pass a bylaw that may not get built?
I really want our residents to know that. The only reason why this is even coming up right now is because the developer, and we're not even supposed to be talking about the developer right now. This is the concept. Concept-wise, Littleton says it wants 25% affordable units, less than 80% AMI, okay? That's affordability. Yeah, I'm really on board with that. I am not on board with 20% because that's selling out to a developer.
No, it's not selling out to anyone. It's the reality of what's out there, Anna. That's what it is. Not about the developer.
We haven't even given it the opportunity because isn't that what we're supposed to be doing? Giving DHCD our concept of what our town wants, not what some developer wants.
No, it has nothing to do with it. It has to do with reality. How come 20 of the 29 40 hours that have already been approved before us, they're all at 20%, all except for 3, maybe 4. Why is that? And that's what's in the bylaw from DHCD, 20%, not 25. Judy Barrett was optimistic in what she thought we could get. The reality of the banking now is that 20% is what they're going to do. And that's what Hager told us. Hager told us that beforehand. And they were at, well, if you
town by not asking for
then go to 25% and we'll put 150 AMI up there. Let's do the gamut from 80 to 150 and put it at 20%.
That's not what you told the town.
That's not helping the town. That's why if we leave it at 80 and 20% affordability at 80 is a lot better than, let's face it, you know as well as I do, 130, 140, 150 is not affordable. Okay, so if you want to play the game and go to 25% and have those numbers as AMI, that's fine. But
I want 25% at 80% or less AMI because that's what you guys told us. LSAC came to this board, came to the select board as well with that recommendation. And now at the 11th hour, you're coming in with this.
not.
This is not okay, Mark. I'm
It's-
done.
Fine. You're only one vote.
You're right.
I still think it should be 20% so that we have a project that's viable and is built. That's all I'm trying to do.
I know, but
It's higher than 20%. I'm
wait,
hoping the
wait,
state
Mark,
comes in.
you guys are arguing about, it's a moot point. You're sending this to a town vote. We're not approving
But we
anything.
have to have a number at town
We have
meeting.
to
What
send it to
number we
town
carrying, Jerry? 20 or 25?
Wait, I mean, Anna, you're trying to say you don't want to send it to town vote over a 5% differential? I mean, the town's going to vote yes or no. That's all we're approving tonight.
Right.
I
Extraordinary.
recognize that, Jerry,
We're
but you
just putting it
have
on the
that-
warrant.
you still have that approval authority, right? Whether or not we even send it to town meeting.
Why wouldn't we send this to town meeting? This meets the goals because we can't get down to your affordability.
This isn't my affordability. Delisa, you were actually on that committee. You were the chair of that committee. So why are you changing your mind now?
See, right, Anna, I was, okay? And
Why are you changing your mind?
percent
Why are you changing your mind?
do not appreciate being yelled at. So
Why
stop
are you changing your mind?
yelling.
Why are you changing your mind? Why are you changing your mind?
Because I am a businesswoman and I would want to see this built, and it has a far greater opportunity to be built and meet the residents' needs than at 25%. If they can't get their financing, this is all a moot point. That's why I changed my mind. Because like Mark said, I've also talked to people and looked at what is an option now. And I think
Have you seen the financials? Have you seen the developer's financials to say this is what their ROI is going to be at 20% versus 25%? Right. How do we know how much of a big difference this really is?
Because you know what the industry standards are going to do.
Financing. It's about getting the financing to build a project, which you won't be able to get if you're pitching a 25% affordability. It's not about finances for the developer. It's about the financing of the project.
It's about the
Actually,
viability of the project, the viability, because the bank want to get paid back. So it's going to have to stand on its own, not through the developer, through the rents, how much is affordable, how much is not affordable. They still have to pay the note back. So that's why 20%
Yeah,
is a
it's all based on the
place.
credit worthiness of the developer.
No,
So
No, it's
Here's the
not. It's
part-
about the creditworthiness of the development, not the developer.
Exactly. Jerry's hitting it right on the
this right
point.
here is exactly what I'm talking about. We should not even be talking about the developer and what he
We
or
aren't.
he said. Well, that's where this whole idea came from, right? Because you're telling me that they say
No,
that they
this
can't
is-
get
no.
the deal done unless
No,
it's
no, Anna. This didn't come from the developer. This came from the fact that we're trying to get a bylaw that will pass and has,
right.
right. That's why
working.
we at the 11th hour got an email.
No, it
that came
wasn't.
from the lobby firm,
Judy
right?
Barrett was wrong. Judy Barrett was wrong to suggest 25%. After this all came on and we started all doing our homework, we found out that Hager is the one that proved it to us. Hager couldn't get funding. Don't you remember? Hager was at 150% AMI. These are at 80.
Why did you bring it to us in January?
Because we didn't think it was a big deal till we were told that it is a big deal. And when I did my homework, Delisa did her homework, we found out that they're right. 20% is what the banks are going to loan on a project. Doesn't matter how rich or how poor the developer is. It matters whether the project is viable, whether it will be node. That's all that matters.
I've been
And
asking
Anna, you know what? You can agree to disagree.
You're absolutely right. I
There's enough
disagree.
people here. I need to hear from everybody whether we're going to support 20% at town meeting. If you want to change it at town meeting floor, you have your right. But right now we have to come up with a bylaw that we're going to bring to town meeting floor. And I'm suggesting it's at 20%. And I want to hear the rest of the board what they say. Jeff, what do you say?
Well, I admire Anna's tenacity in trying to get affordability. I would suggest, I'm going to just suggest this as splitting the difference, but there are there's two parcels. One's the medium density and one's the high density. I would agree with you. There's no way a project that's medium density is going to achieve 25% affordability. There is no way. I mean,
Right.
it's just not going to be economic no matter what. But you do have a shot at higher density developments to do that. And I'm wondering if we could do 20% on the medium density and 25% on the high density. Or we could use wording that says we want to achieve 25% affordability, at 80%. And the 80% AMI is really important because, as we went through with Hager Homestead, and Marin had the new numbers out, the AMI now is $120,000. So, to sweat blood to build housing for, what are essentially middle income people, I'm not that interested in. But so I don't know. Let's just try to merge some thinking on this.
But isn't it kind of, if for the senior,
I'm not talking about the seniors. I think that's a separate issue because that density is going to be governed.
that's 25% there.
Right.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Seniors are 25%. We're talking about the rest of the project.
Okay.
That we're talking about.
So
You could still break it out.
Because I'm looking at the high density as being really appropriate for seniors. Elevator buildings, maybe structured parking, smaller units. I think that's an advantage of building housing like that. It really could be useful for seniors.
Well, you could net it out at the higher density to achieve 20% for overall.
Okay, what would that
But
be?
you give up the medium density, you give up some affordability in the medium density and load it into the high density.
Well, in medium density, we're talking about small single family homes, and that's still, I guess, yeah, in the perfect world, yes, let's all, live in small single family homes, but
Talking about townhomes as
But-
well.
okay, townhomes, okay. But they're still single family. There's still, yards and, anyway, I don't know. The other thing is that I know the other concern you had, Anna, was about the differentiation. And typically, because we went through this with the 40B, in the high density, what are going to be essentially apartments, it's really easy. There's no differentiation. All you see is a door and a hallway. And what you might find is if you impose the higher affordability, you wouldn't have apparent differentiation, but you probably would have differentiation in square footage, because that's the only way they could get the numbers to work. I don't know. As usual, I don't want to make things too complicated, but I also don't, I think there has to be some, people will either undertake a project or not undertake a project based on if they can get a return. And while I agree with you, we don't need to massage their return, you might find if you impose too many restrictions that there will be no one taking up this project. And that would not be.
That's always the fear that's thrown out there, isn't it?
And
Well, then why did we spend 2.5 years doing this if it's not going to be viable? That's my point. I have no problem with Jeff increasing the density and the higher density to 25 because a lot, like I agree with you. State mandates senior housing has to be 25%. So if you want to,
that's fine. But then let's just take the medium density and just say we're going to do 20% there.
what's the rest of the board think?
Like 20% on the medium and 25 on the high.
Yes.
I still think you're
gonna
gonna.
be easier to-
I just saying, I don't think you're not gonna get a good financing outcome for that. So you're gonna be able to finance the medium density, but you're not gonna get financing on the high density at 25%.
Okay. Delisa?
I'm in agreement with Jerry.
Okay. So where we're at, a vote to send this to town meeting, so you want to wait till the end? You want to open it up to the public? And get back to this at the very end when we decide
Well,
to?
I don't wanna, look, this is my last meeting, so 9 o'clock, I'm a pumpkin.
Well, we have to open up to the public, Jerry. You got to stay a little longer.
Well, then you better get started, because
Okay.
I've been on Zoom literally nonstop since 8 o'clock in the morning.
I feel your pain.
Yeah,
Oh,
Well, we need Jerry's vote, right? So, and we don't know how long public's gonna take.
Well, put a clock on the public and say everybody gets a minute. You don't get to come up and filibuster this. Like,
okay.
put a clock on it,
You have 2 minutes to make your point. That's it.
because they can argue at town meeting all they want.
Right. We've heard about the traffic. We've heard about everything else. We don't want to talk about
Yeah,
the
let me just preface, I've heard all the concerns, and I'm not providing an opinion on any of those concerns. This is just to send it to the floor. I'd much rather.
Right.
Mr. Chair, before it goes to the public,
Yes.
I would also respectfully ask what happened with the traffic study that was mentioned last time, and have we seen?
we had never had a formal traffic study done, and we will not have a formal traffic study done until there's an actual project in front of us. This is a conceptual zoning plan that we're bringing to the town for a 40R overlay district. So Judy Barrett never gave us an actual formal traffic of what it would generate. So.
Well, you can't. I
Okay,
mean,
next.
because we just talked about retail. Well, if they max out the retail and they minimize it's going to be a different project than if they just, so until we have a project, I don't see how they could possibly do it.
Yep.
But then at that point, yes, there should be a traffic study.
Okay. All right. So can we open this up for a while? Then we got to come back and vote it. All right, Maureen. Everybody needs to state their name and their legal address, where they live, and 2 minutes. That's it. And we've heard, hopefully we have some new questions or concerns. We don't want to rehash the old stuff that we've been hearing for the past 2.5 months. So does anyone have their hand raised? Name and address, please. 2 minutes.
Just a moment. There's one hand raised, Kimberly Mayo.
Hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So I really only have 2 minutes.
Yes, you only have 2 minutes.
Yeah.
We want to know where you live. We want your address, your legal address.
140 Howard Avenue, Littleton, Mass. 01460. All right, so why don't you set the timer now? I don't want that to take into my 2 minutes.
I'll do it.
But just tell me ready, set, go, Jerry, if you don't mind timing. I don't have that.
Yeah, go.
Okay.
You're on.
All right, Littleton residents, clearly after this meeting, we can see we've got them up against the ropes. Thank you, Anna Houston. Please come to vote Saturday, June 12th, 9 a.m., Alumni Field in opposition. Rain date is the 13th. Since there's no traffic study, I'm going to share this in my quick 2 minutes. Safety is a major fear. Foster Street is truly dangerous now, especially the four corners with Howard Ave. I've experienced many close calls, and sadly, a family friend, a pedestrian, was once killed by a car in Littleton nearby. Our concern, even with the proposed road expansion, is the infrastructure cannot possibly handle the massive increase in road traffic. This isn't Charlotte or some other planned area. This is old New England and requires such planning factors. You can fix the immediate area, but how do you fix the rest of Foster, Howard to Hadawon? Sure, some sections are wide enough to be reworked, but the roads are lineal. One spot will be okay, but 100 feet further down, the houses on both sides are far too close to the existing road as it is. What do you do for that section? Build a flyover for the pedestrian bicycle traffic to divert to? What do you do with the already dangerous blind turn between Foster and Harwood? Do you seize the houses on either side to remove the danger, which would exponentially increase the traffic, and that will calculate to 1,000 plus more trips today over that stretch of road? That 1,000 trips per day figure, I will add, is very conservative based on other regional studies. What about the gorgeous historical stone walls? I really love them. Why is the town pushing this to vote in the absence of traffic studies and those for fire, police departments? How can these roads possibly handle traffic, access for emergency vehicles, and be safe for dogs, wildlife, pedestrians, cyclists, and other drivers? The nursing home wants no part of this. That should tell you something if it's such a great concept. And I will be addressing the Council on Aging and share my comments via email about seniors. It is not for our seniors. You cannot discriminate against other age groups per fair housing laws. They're going to see right through this. We're going to see right through this. My grandmother was a senior in town. My mother isn't, God willing. I will be one day. Again, it's illegal and against fair housing law for these units to be designated for our seniors. So stop telling people it's a solution for our seniors when it's clearly not. Since they have more time regarding affordable housing.
More time.
Pardon?
Thank you, Kimberly.
Did someone
Thank
say
you for
something
your
about
input.
time? We'll
Yeah,
see you
yeah,
June
2 minutes.
12th. Let's bring it, residents. We got this. They don't have their act together. Thank you, Ms. Houston. Ciao.
Thank you. Anna, Maureen, anyone else have their hands up?
I'm looking for hands raised. Nate Long, just a moment. There you go. Yeah.
Can you hear us?
I got you. You guys have me?
Yes.
So thanks again for having us on. Nathan Long, my family owns 245 Foster Street. That's the property adjacent to the train station. We haven't spoken at any of these, but we just want to say that we do appreciate the Littleton Station Area Committee for reaching out to us. The property is definitely a key piece, and we've worked with the Station Area Committee for the past 2 years in laying out a design that we think fits the town's goals. We took their lead. We mirrored what they had asked for. We're not developers. We haven't hired a developer. There's no developer involved at this point, but we are committed to adding as much affordable senior housing as possible. It is legal to add senior housing. We know that for a fact it is. So we have partnered with consultants who are working to find as much state and federal money that there is to increase the affordability as much as we can for seniors. We also believe in the goal of diversified housing stock so that recent graduates or empty nesters don't need to move out of town if they no longer want to have their single family house. And then with these goals in mind, we'll continue to work with the planning board now to take best advantage of the train station, which I think everyone knows is an underutilized but great asset for the town. I think that's less than 2 minutes.
Oh, you killed it. Minute 20.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Long. Maureen, anyone else?
Yep, Kay Horn.
Yeah, this is Chris Laufenberger. I live with my wife here, Kristen Horn, at 217 Foster Street. I've already voiced most of our concerns through email, and we'll get into that. I just wanted clarification on one thing. You guys were talking about a 300-foot setback off of Foster Street where you can build 50-foot tall structures. I don't even think that gets to the back of my property. So basically right within as soon as they get over the 75-foot area, I could have a 50-foot tall building right behind my house. My property is the irregularly shaped lot that borders both the life care center and the development property. So we have our property's kind of split. So I'm on both property lines in the back. So that's just one area. I just want a little clarification. Is that I was under the understanding it was down over the hill they could build 50-foot structures, not right on my 25 yards from my property line.
It is further down over the hill that we're talking about. The properties that we're proposing behind you is the small little home that will be attached to the life care center and the small little cottage single-family homes that will be the medium density behind you. The larger buildings we're hoping will be further closer to the train station and behind the ridge that's runs by the train station that heads up the hill there. That's where we're talking about the three bigger buildings that will house the higher density.
Okay, so what was the 300-foot number for? That was just my concern. I heard that 300-foot number. That's the first I had heard that. Okay, thanks for the clarification on that. And then the other thing I just wanted to bring up was, being that our property is one of the few that are going to be severely impacted by this, that doesn't have the wetland setback, and that we're bordered both properties, I was a little upset that I had to hear about this project from a neighbor putting a piece of paper in my mailbox. I just wanted to bring that up. Like, this severely impacts, why we moved to Littleton to be on a large lot. Even if they build homes behind us, that's one thing, single family homes. But we're really talking here ultra high density, potential for a lot of people behind us. And I was just a little upset that I had to find out by someone shoving a letter in my mailbox from one of my neighbors. And that's it. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Hold on.
we've been working on this for over 2.5 years. We've had public meetings, we've had charrettes with the consultants that we've hired. It's unfortunate that you didn't hear about it anytime sooner, but we apologize for that. Maren, anyone else have their hands up? Nope.
Okay, one more. Clifford Stevens.
Hi, you get Clifford Stevens from 5 Fraser. I live over.
Whoops.
Just a moment. Let's try that again. Sorry about that. Let's try that again.
You got me? Can you hear me? Sounds
Yes.
good. Hi, Cliff Stevens from 5 Fraser Street over in Durkee. Not speaking on behalf of the Durkee neighborhood, just as a resident nearby. Just observing the conversation tonight, I realize there's a heated debate going on. I do appreciate Anna's point of view about upholding the integrity of what you've agreed to, because when you state the facts, and although I know you are all invested in this to make the right decisions here, it's hard to see the actual data that you're talking about when you talked about like whether you're going to get financing or not, and whether that's your personal opinion or whether you've actually had that. It would be great to be able to hear what banks have you talked to say, hey, you're not going to get to that 25%. And personally, as a resident of Durkee, you might think that I might not want affordable housing at that high level of density. But I do think as this board and what you're trying to make as a recommendation to the town and to the people and the citizens, it starts to become a little bit more subjective in that moment of understanding like how much influence a developer has over the decision-making of this town, where developers and conversations are happening with the planning board. And I'm not questioning you in that moment, but when we have this much of a heated debate, I do think upholding the integrity of what you've talked about that the town is important. It puts us faith into this board that you're making the best recommendations. So that's all I have to say is that I appreciate all the debate on this tonight. I do appreciate Anna trying to uphold that moment of saying, hey, this is what we've agreed to as what we're trying to do. If you're going to provide data or facts, like just talk to us what banks you're talking about. Like those are key things that make us feel much more confident in the decisions that you're making, as opposed to, hey, I've done my homework, right? Like I agree on that. And I appreciate all the points of view, but I want to put that out there as I think that should be something that should be a standard moving forward so that the town can actually feel like the homework that we can see is clear and clean. So thank you all for your approach on this. I do appreciate everyone's point of view. And thanks for doing that.
Thank you. Maren, anyone else?
No, that was it for hands raised. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we need to decide what we want to do, and we need to take a vote.
Yeah, let's vote.
Well, what do we want to do about the percent? You want to leave it at 25%, let everyone decide, and have an issue whether or not anything comes before us, and we'll put it at 20%, and let the board, when it comes before us at a later date, we have to give something to DHCD.
I mean, sounds like we want, at least two of us want to keep it at 25. Is that right?
I don't know.
I was thinking about the last person's comments, and it really concerns me that there is a perception that we are somehow designing this project with developers. And I think, Anna, you have a little bit of that feeling also. I do not get that at all. We are simply providing an overlay district. And if there is a general rule of thumb that projects with 25%, affordability can't be financed, I think that's true. If we want to do 25%, that's fine. But we have to admit to ourselves that we're adding an additional hurdle to the goal of this. So I guess I don't have a dog in this race.
We all have a dog.
Can I just make a
Oh,
comment?
no. For this specific, whether it's 20 or 25%.
Can I make a comment on the whole notion that we're designing this around a developer? Just for transparency and just for people who are listening to this call, I did talk to the developer today for an hour. And we covered the whole thing, soup to nuts, all the concerns, everything people have been saying, we've talked about. There is a developer that is behind this, and they have been quiet, but yeah, there's a property owner. They have an economic interest, and they have a right to develop their property, and they have a right economically to do what's in their best interest. But they need something from the town, and the town has to vote to approve this. From my point of view, and this is my last meeting on the board, I'm only coming at it from the standpoint of, we were asked to bring this to the town floor. That's all we're voting on tonight. We're just bringing it to the floor as a warrant. It's up to the town citizens to come and vote on it. That's what we're doing tonight. We're not designing anything. Everybody's got a point of view. There's nothing Machiavellian about this. There's a lot of history around this property, but so what? If the town chooses to reject the 40R, there could be other zoning alternatives beyond that that could suit the applicant as well. But I do believe strongly that for the 40R to have been viable, it should have had an economic basis, and it wasn't done. There's no impact analysis to the town. It was not analyzed at all. What we put forward was a product plan to allow this property to be developed, but there's no visibility into downstream impact, and there's no long-term impact study on how it will fit into the rest of the housing density that's coming to Littleton. So I don't think this is a bad project per se. I think there's another piece to this that wasn't done that's equally important to the stakeholders who are putting their finances on the line because of the potential impact of taxes. That's what I was concerned about. There's a whole bunch of other issues there to unpack, but that's where I'm coming from. I think we have an obligation as a board to send this to town as we agreed to do, and that's all we're really doing tonight. To me, there is no collusion with a developer. We're not designing anything for a developer. We're just executing what we were asked to do, and I think that's appropriate.
I agree, Jerry, and I also have to tell you that traffic studies, mitigation, all of that comes once you have a plan in front of you.
Right.
It will all be done once there's something set in stone, tells you how many units, what kind of mitigation, what the state will do and everything else. But I agree with you. This is the first step. The issue is we have to have a comprehensive plan for the state, for the DHCD, for the 40R. And the last issue before us is affordability. What number? Everybody else, 80% of the people in the Commonwealth of Mass use 20%. Why are we being any different? I agree with Anna that we shouldn't be doing this at the 12th hour, but at the 12th hour, given what was said at Hagerhead Homestead, given the affordability ranges from 80 to 60 to 150, we're all at 80. 20% gives the developer an opportunity to get funding for this, and that's the only reason I would love 25% everywhere. Absolutely, I would like 30%. We got 40% at Hager, but it wasn't a real 40, and we had issues at the end with the banks approving Hager, and we had to change things at the 12th hour to get the banks to allow to loan them money. I don't want that problem again with this. I want at least 20% affordability, 25 for the senior project part of it, and move on and let the people in the town of Littleton decide what they want out there. And then a year from now, 2 years, whatever it takes, an actual concrete plan which shows everything that this could potentially be comes before the planning board, who's ever on the planning board in a couple of years, and they get to vote. They get traffic studies. They get everything that's involved in this project. Just like you said, Jerry, we're just bringing this overlay, just like we did for the point and everything else. We brought an overlay. We brought the concept there. There were no traffic studies. We didn't do all of that. That was done once we had a viable plan in front of us. And that's what will be done on this project. It will take into account the realignment of Foster Street, the repairs to Foster Street. This is a concept to do zoning, to change some of the problems that we have. We don't have affordable housing for seniors. I don't have to repeat what we don't have. We all know what we don't have. I just want to decide from the board what the last piece of this puzzle is, vote to approve to send it to town meeting, and let people on town meeting floor decide what they want to do. That's all I'm trying to do.
Yep. I would agree with that. I mean, we're all volunteers here. We have no stake in this. My only objective as a member of this board is to try and implement the master plan, which is what the residents of Littleton asked for. We continuously hear about the need for more diversified housing. We have an opportunity here that's right next to the train station. It just makes sense. If the town decides to vote against it, so be it. not,
We did the best we can. That's it. Exactly.
you know,
Okay?
it would be disappointing because we will have lost an opportunity to achieve what we keep hearing from so many residents. But do I personally care? No, you know? So,
And the other thing, just to clear up one mishap, I think everybody on the board is all on board with this. I think the only issue that we have about this is affordability. And I keep coming back to, this is not about one developer. This is about a project that has to be viable. Doesn't matter who's in the driver's seat going to build it. It has to make sense for them to go to a bank and get funding, just like buying a house, just like anything else. It has to work. It has to support itself. You have to be able to go to the bank and say, I'm going to have X amount of units. This is the fair market value of these. This is what I have to add to this because you don't make any money with the affordable units. What makes sense and what works? Everybody in the state of Massachusetts, 90% of them are 20%. Let's leave it there. Let's let the residents of the town of Littleton vote what they want to do, and let's move on. Anybody wanted? We need to close this. We need to.
I just have one more question, and then Anna, I guess my question is, would we get any more votes in support of this project at 25% versus 20%? My gut feeling.
I think that's a discussion more about amongst us than.
Okay.
Residents either like the project or they don't like the project. Whether it's you're getting 5% more affordability, I don't think it's going to sway people. And that's my personal opinion. It's just that it's a concept idea between us, you know. So Anna, did you want to say something?
Well, I did. First of all, I'd like to apologize to you, Mark, and to my colleagues and to our residents for yelling. I am a little passionate about this. And so I just want to state very clearly that I firmly believe that we need density at the train station. I am all on board with that. And I do believe that 30,000 square feet of commercial space is right. And I'm okay with the numbers. I'm okay with the density numbers, as long as we have the 25% affordable, less than 80% AMI. So my beef right now at this moment, hear me very clearly, is that percent affordability. I want it all at 25% affordable because that's what we were sold. Okay. And so beyond that, thank you.
Okay, so we need to decide what we're going to do. Okay, we've beaten this horse. We all agree that this is the project that we want to put forward to the town. Let the town decide if they want to increase the viability of diversified housing in the town of Littleton. Like it, you get to voice your opinion at town meeting. We need to decide. Okay, so what's the number? I say it's 20. Lisa?
20.
Jerry?
I'm gonna back Anna on this one, 25.
Even though, never mind, I'm not.
We're going to the floor with this. You can even change it on the floor. They can make their own
You
impact.
can't make it less restrictive.
They've changed warrants on the floor before.
Right, you can make it less restrictive, you can't make it more restrictive on the floor.
So
You can change it.
20%. So you couldn't go to 20% then.
You could change it to 20%.
You
You can change it to 20, you can't change it to 25.
25.
Correct.
You could change it on the floor.
Oh, okay.
Let the applicant fight it out then. Let them make their pitch to the town. That's their opportunity to win the town on 20%.
Well,
No, I don't think that, well.
I do like, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but getting some information, like concrete information. It's one thing to have conversations with people, but getting concrete information about financing from a bank, we have time to do that.
Lisa, you can't do that until there's a project.
Right, you can't.
We're not developers.
You're right.
You can't. Now, let me just say one last thing. I am in the multifamily business. I have spoken with people in the multifamily business that have no interest in this, no desire. It's Littleton. You got to remember too, the rents in Littleton are going to be less because it's Littleton. Funding 25% is impossible. That's what I've been told.
Vote on this or not. You can't, we're arguing in circles. Like, if we go with the 25, we can change it on the floor. That's a fact, right? So let's just vote on this and so I can go.
Oh, now it's because you just want to go, Jerry. Okay. Jeff, what do you think?
Jerry.
Because I just want to go. Dude, I'm not kidding. I've been on the Zoom literally since 8 o'clock.
No, I'm going to, I'll go with 25%. And
Yeah.
because Mark, I know, I hear you, but here's the deal.
Well,
We're putting on the overlay district, and then it's up to someone to come in and do it. We would have done our job if we've established this concept at this site. And we already have 25% to senior housing. And so it is possible. I doubt something's going to happen on the floor at this meeting, but if we get a concrete proposal and they come back to the town and say, we will do all this, pretty pictures, but we need 20% affordability, then the town can,
We can change our mind then?
you're not going to.
No, it would have to be the 40R would be, well, I don't know. I'm saying this.
Well,
Get this built.
I don't think you can change. If we leave it at 25 and it passes and nobody says they can do it, I'm not so sure we can change the actual 40R down to 20%.
Maren, do you know? I mean, because this is serious, guys.
Right, there are several questions there. The process at town meeting floor would be an amendment to the article. If you bring it in at 25 and there was an amendment proposed to 20% affordable, that could pass and meet the four corners of the bylaw. It would become less restrictive, so that
What about
happen.
What about DHCD?
DHCD, their minimum percent is 20% in a 40R district, 20% at 80% AMI in a 40R district, and plus the 25% for senior units in a 40R district. So I don't see any problems there.
We compromise on, say, 20% at 80% AMI and an additional 5% at an additional, at 100% AMI or 120% AMI.
Good.
And to me, that discussion is part of the permitting process for a future application.
So, Maren, my question
What if we did 25%, of which 20% will be 80% AMI, and then leave that 5% under negotiation?
I'm asking, do we have flexibility with the 40R process with DHCD once this is approved as a bylaw? Can we go down to 20?
Why wouldn't you?
I don't think, I'm asking if we can. I don't think we can. This is
come on. What do you mean? The state's going to argue with you over 5%? Are you nuts?
That's the question I'm asking.
If
Maren
that's the case, 40R isn't even right for Littleton, then state can go pounce in.
I'm asking Maren if once we enact this bylaw, if somebody comes in, say we can't do it at 20%, the financing isn't there, can we go back to DHCD and change our 25% affordability to 20? That's what I want to know.
So the question would be, would a variance be allowed under that? I don't know why not, but it's a question for town council.
And we're not ready to vote.
I would just shoot myself if we pass this at 20% and then we couldn't build it.
You mean at 25%.
You mean 25%.
You meant 25%, Lisa.
Yeah, I would just, then we have not done our jobs because we will have lost an opportunity to really give something of value to the residents.
The only alternative to this is to leave it the way it is. We'll get an answer from town council and we'll make a recommendation on town meeting floor. How's that? Will that work? To get past this, Jerry? No, you were muted.
He doesn't care.
We'll leave it at 25%.
I mean, you guys are literally like, it's going to the floor. Just let the town vote on it.
That's whatever. Okay. So why don't we do that then? Why don't we leave it there? We'll get an answer from town council whether or not And then we'll make a presentation at town meeting floor as to what, give them one last shot at 20 or 25%. Because it's all,
Okay.
we can't agree.
Okay,
What?
and I just got feedback from Joe Layden that DHC would approve it, provided town meeting approves the percentage at town meeting.
Yeah, but will they let us change it at a later date? So my question is, once,
Oh, you would have to bring it back to town meeting, that specific question about going from 25% to 20%.
so the question is, once we get this passed, let's just pretend somebody else, as long as decide to sell it to somebody else, whatever. That developer comes in and says, nope, the economic environment is, I have to have 20% affordability. Can we change the 40R that we have just approved? Can we change it down to 20% in the state's eyes? That's the question I'm asking.
If we go back to town meeting.
Town meeting, correct.
So then we have to have a firm number at one point or another, because you can't change it. Once the developer comes in,
Yeah.
because we can go up, we can't go down, right?
Mhm.
These
Yeah, Joe,
You can go
we can
get,
always change it to 25 once the development comes before the planning board with a definitive process. But at 25, we can't go down to 20.
yes,
And
we can.
no, you can't. Mara just said we
No, that's not what she
can't
said.
DHCD and change it without a town meeting vote for it.
That's correct. We
Yep.
have to go to town
I
meeting.
want to take this back to town meeting.
No, this is,
God.
no, we're talking 15 affordable units or 20 affordable units here. No.
Mr. Chair, Joe Layden is available if we want to ask him questions.
Please. I would like him to weigh in on this, please.
What happened to Joe? There he is.
Joe, can you help us here?
Hi, sorry, I'm not exactly in work attire right now after hours. Yeah, I was following your discussion, and it's a really interesting challenge as far as really trying to identify, especially with a percent affordable. DHCD establishes the minimum. That does not mean that you can't go above. But if town meeting adopts a bylaw to reduce it down, just like for our bylaw, we would have to go to town meeting to amend it to take it from 25 to 20. That amendment would have to be approved by DHCD. That doesn't mean it's a huge hurdle. I had in prior position an existing 40R bylaw that we went back to town meeting on 2 different occasions, working with the property owner, trying to refine it to get the project a little bit more viable. And DHCD was great to work with. They did have to sign off on things, but it's when you go to town meeting for a zoning bylaw change, AG office has to sign off on approvals of amendments to zoning bylaws as well. So yeah, it's a step, but it is something that would be able to be done. Someone had identified, because I know it has been an open discussion as far as, well, we want a broader range of affordability. That's something that very often when you're talking about if you want to hit 100%, unless you're building it into the bylaw and you're sort of relying on some sort of memorandum of agreement with the developer to provide those units, having some sort of other provision that says, 20% at 80, and then the remaining 5 can be negotiated with the planning board, that definitely is an option. One of the things that, at least in thinking about all the financing and stuff, and all of you are right as far as we don't have a project, we have a concept, but it's not really fleshed out that much, is that there's been really no negotiations for a lot of projects, especially if, say you wanted to buy down some units or get additional units. Developers will engage the town, the Affordable Housing Trust, CPC to see ways of making something a little bit more viable. So there's still a lot of potential to achieve some of the goals. And there's also time. If you approved it at 25 and you wanted to continue discussions and the planning board wanted to submit a motion as or an amendment on town meeting floor that refined it, you'd be able to do that as well.
Okay, so you want me to put you in a hot seat and ask you what you would do? Or you want to leave it up to us?
Well, you guys are being paid all the big bucks being elected officials. And, it's not easy. I've been following the discussions as far as the challenges in trying to balance the objectives and goals of the master plan with concerns as far as impacts from residents. And, we're still at such a conceptual level. Until we get something, there's a lot of questions that we just don't know, and we don't know the impacts. But we also have infrastructure projects that are down, in the pipeline that may address some of the issues. So we have time on all fronts. I think one of the main things is that there's the ability for further refinement and amendment, so that if you wanted to approve it at 25 and then come back and discuss it again, there's at least time to discuss that. And now that, we've had a really good discussion, or you have, I was just listening to it. I think if there's follow-up and some other thoughts and questions that then Maren, MAPC, even myself can assist, can evaluate as far as, opportunity for amendment on town meeting floor. This is a significant project. The state is looking at encouraging this type of bylaw around train stations. There's grant opportunities, but also there's potentially some sticks that go along with new legislation. And we need to make sure that we find the right mix for Littleton. And sometimes solutions, come at the last minute. Sometimes, it may take a little longer. But yeah, in my experience, sometimes when you're talking about percent and projects that are relying on 25% affordability, I don't mean to sort of sound this bad when I say it. Sometimes it just requires, from the developer standpoint and the property owner standpoint, more discussions, more analysis, more looking at maybe changing a pro forma or a model that they developed as a concept to see what other changes could happen. And that's all through dialogue. And there are some developers that would not at all sweat at all about 25%. There are others, because they have a type of market that they want to achieve, a type of product that may, cause a little bit more, pencil sharpening to try to then achieve that 25%.
You just did one in Grafton. So, I'm not really talking about the developer. I'm talking about the banks involved. Did you have issues at 20% with the bank?
25%? No.
You did, but you did Grafton at 20, according to the Grafton was 20.
For ownership, 20. For rental, 25.
Okay. Well,
because those are two different finances, because then, you're dealing with for sale units, you need a lot of upfront, and then, you do need it for rental as well. But then there's a more consistent revenue stream coming in for the rental, because then it ends up being a longer term project.
Okay. Good. We could look at it that way. So why don't we? I know what I want to do. We need to vote this because we need to. This is Jerry's last night. We got to vote it to bring it to town meeting floor. What's the board want to do? You want to leave it at 25%? And no, never mind. I'm not going to open my mouth. I want to hear from you guys what you want to do. I'll start with Jeff. I'll start with you again.
I'm persuaded, and I think Joe's comments about dialogue is good. If nothing came forward, then so let's do 25%. And I don't want to complicate this. I know.
Okay.
I say all the time.
25. Anna, 25.
Yes, Anna, 25%.
Delisa.
And 80% AMI.
Delisa.
Putting the bill.
At this point, I don't care. I just want the project built.
Why don't we? I'm in your corner, Delisa. Why don't we leave it at 25 and decide if we want to change it? If we have more information, change it at town meeting floor.
Yeah, let's get some more information.
Okay, Jerry?
Yeah, we're good. 25.
25, okay. So why don't we leave it at 25 with the ability to change it on town meeting floor to 20% if we have new information that we want to do that way, go that route, and leave it at that. Okay. Maren, do we have any other outstanding issues, or should we close the public hearing and vote this to send it to town meeting?
See no reason not to move forward.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing on the what?
Come on, I'm gonna make the motion.
Oh, all right. Make the motion then.
I make the motion
What motion?
to send this thing to town meeting.
Close the public hearing first.
Public hearing, and send the 40R bylaw to town meeting with the last 4 items that we discussed, right? Which
Okay.
was- We covered a lot of, it's like 5 things.
So let's vote to close the public hearing first.
Yes.
Anna?
Yeah.
Jerry?
Yes.
Delisa? Yes. And I'm a yes. Okay, now let's vote on sending this, the 40R district, as defined with the proposal we have to DHCD with all the refinements we've done tonight to town meeting floor. We're voting to approve to send this to the select board to put on town meeting floor for a vote. All those in favor? Jeff?
Yes.
Anna?
Yes.
Delisa?
Yes.
I'm a yes. And Jerry, last vote?
Yes.
Right. Thank you, Joe, by the way, for your help trying to get us over
No problem.
the log jam. And thank you, Mon, for all the work you've put into this. It's been 2 years of back and forth, back and forth. I think we have no matter what we all think, I think we're all on the same page as far as affordable housing for seniors and residents in the town of Littleton. We may differ on everything that goes into it, but I think we're all on the same page as to how we did it. I want to thank Delisa for her 2 years on the Littleton Station Committee, going through all the meetings and everything else like that. Did a great job. Everybody else, Anna, we can all agree to disagree, and that's what makes the board work. And Jerry, I want to thank you for you too, Jeff. You did a great job. And Jerry, I want to thank you for your service. You know, it's not easy.
Jerry, 5 years.
It's always an honor to serve. I mean, happy to do it.
And you're going to run again, right? We will miss you. You made great contributions. I will miss working.
What is it like to do this for 5 years? I mean, that's
Now, what is it like to do it for 5 years?
I know, Mark, you've been doing it forever, so.
How many years? 35 years.
I have gray hair. I didn't have gray hair before. No. Thank you, Jerry, for your time. It's not easy. There's a lot of time, a lot of time involved with it, a lot of reading to do, a lot of meetings to go to, and
People yell at you.
yeah, you never win.
Some accusations that are totally unfounded.
I've got my
Good mom.
community service covered for a long time.
Did you prefer
And
the
so
Zoom
do all of
era?
you.
Did you prefer the Zoom era or the in-person era?
If you didn't have to use Zoom to talk to everybody now, it would be okay. But when I say it's Zoom all day, it's just nonstop. Because nobody even uses the telephone.
Yeah.
So you just
As far as our meetings go, I like the live meetings. I mean, even though it's been great sitting out here smoking a cigar and watching my fire and everything, I really enjoy it when people are in front of you and you get to see the passion and how.
Yeah, in person's way better.
Yeah. I'm hoping maybe next month, Myron, we might be back to some sort of, that's the hope.
I imagine it'll be a little while yet.
Anyway.
Maybe by September.
Yeah, maybe by the fall, hopefully. But then again, I want to thank you all. It's been a long, arduous journey. We've gotten to the end. Now it's up to the residents of the town of Littleton to decide what they want to do. We've done our job. Hopefully you'll all be there at town meeting. I'm not going to be the only one getting rocks thrown at me.
Oh yeah, this is going to be a fun meeting.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a
What if
blast.
we're the ones throwing rocks?
Yeah, you'll probably be there. Go ahead.
still have one more meeting before town meeting, right, to decide who's gonna talk and all that, right?
No, we don't. Oh, actually, June 2nd. We do, June 2nd, right?
Yeah,
I have
Okay.
June 3rd. Yeah, June 3rd.
June 3rd.
Yeah, June 3rd, so we'll figure it out by then, Anna.
I'll see you on the streets.
Okay.
Yeah,
Bye, Jerry.
Thank you.
Town
Thank
meeting.
Congratulations.
Get them straight.
Okay.
All right, thank you all.
Bye.